a sealed tomb with no known entrance, a machine part buried in coal, a language carved into stone but spoken by no one. These aren't myths. They're evidence silent, unsettling, and utterly real. Every item dug from the earth whispers the same thing: we are missing something. Something big. What if our timeline isn't just wrong, but deliberately rewritten? Amid the dense hills and peaceful valleys of southwestern Zimbabwe lies one of the greatest architectural mysteries of ancient Africa. Not a pyramid, not a fortress, but instead massive stone walls snaking around the hillsides like a maze, yet enclosing nothing. They don't guard a castle. They don't shelter homes. They don't lead to any sacred place. They simply stand there, solid and silent, for over 600 years. This is the Great Enclosure of Kami, a structure built meticulously from hand-cut stone, without a single drop of mortar, yet it has withstood the test of time. Its imposing appearance makes people assume it must have served as a center of power ritual or military strategy. But after decades of excavation and study, archaeologists have come to an astonishing conclusion. No one knows why these walls were built. So, what do you think? Why would ancient people invest so much effort to build such solid and intricate stone walls, with no clear purpose? Could it have been a forgotten sacred ritual site? Or perhaps a form of architectural language, a message encoded in stone? Or maybe it was simply a symbol of power built to exist without needing explanation. Share your thoughts or theories in the comments below. Who knows, your perspective might be the missing piece that helps unlock this ancient mystery. The stone walls at Kami are a masterpiece of ancient construction, but at the same time, they remain one of archaeology's most perplexing mysteries. Built entirely from locally quarried granite, each block was carefully shaped into a uniform rectangle and stacked precisely without the use of any binding material. Yet these walls have stood strong for centuries, withstanding storms, erosion, and the relentless passage of time. Some sections rise over 6 meters high, curving along the natural contours of the hillside to form a vast stone labyrinth, at once deliberate and strangely abstract. Even more astonishing are the intricate patterns carved into the stone surfaces, soft wave-like curves, repeated V-shaped motifs, and precise geometric checkerboards. These details reveal a culture that was not only technically skilled, but also deeply invested in art and symbolism. And yet, after decades of excavation, no evidence has been found that these walls were ever used for defense, housing, or any practical economic function. Their true purpose remains a mystery to this day. What truly sets the Great Enclosure at Kami apart from other ancient structures is what it lacks. Unlike European castles or Asian fortresses, this site doesn't enclose any houses, temples, or communal spaces. Inside these massive stone walls, archaeologists have found no traces of foundations, no evidence of granaries, no hearths, no floors, nothing that suggests human activity. There are no roofs, no drainage systems, and no perishable materials like wood or mud that would indicate long-term habitation. It's as if these towering walls were never built to contain people at all. They don't protect, don't shelter, don't divide into purposeful areas. They simply stand silent and unmoving, raising a haunting question. Were they built to hold something invisible, or absolutely nothing at all? One of the more common interpretations is that the Great Enclosure may have served as a sacred space, a site for ritual or ceremonial use by elites or priestly classes whose spiritual practices have since faded from history. According to this view, the high stone walls might have symbolized a threshold, marking a transition from the ordinary world outside to a sanctified interior reserved for select participants. The layout, devoid of practical function, could be seen as deliberately symbolic, perhaps guiding movement, framing sacred processions, or creating a sense of spiritual isolation. Yet this theory quickly runs into obstacles. Despite careful excavation, no altars, no carvings, no offerings, no signs of ritual burning, and no religious iconography of any kind have been discovered. Unlike known temple sites in sub-Saharan Africa, Kami offers no physical clues pointing to worship. If it was indeed a sacred space, it was one that left no trace of its faith. Another theory suggests that the walls at Kami may have served as symbols of power, a kind of architectural theater designed to showcase the authority of the ruling elite. The ability to mobilize hundreds of skilled laborers, quarry and transport massive stones, and construct such precise structures without mortar over many years clearly reflects centralized control and a highly organized society. In African history, there is no shortage of monumental works that served no practical function other than to express power, like the pyramids of Egypt or the Moai statues of Easter Island. Yet Kami remains an unusual case. Its walls are so intricate and so complex compared to the rest of the site that it's hard to believe they were built solely to impress. When viewed from above, Kami's network of stone walls forms graceful curves that wrap around the hillsides like a vast web, yet they lead nowhere. There is no clearly defined main entrance, no central axis, and no functional layout like those typically found in ancient settlements. This seeming lack of logic has led some researchers to propose a bold theory: could this be a lost form of architectural language? Perhaps every stone, every pathway once held symbolic meaning, telling a spiritual journey, mapping out a sacred cosmic diagram, or marking ritual stations within a forgotten belief system. If so, then Kami was not just a physical structure, but a stone manuscript written in a language we no longer know how to read. One striking aspect in the study of Kami is the sharp contrast between it and Great Zimbabwe, two major architectural centers that succeeded each other in the history of the Zimbabwean highlands. Great Zimbabwe was once a bustling city with conical stone towers, temples, residential zones, and clear evidence of international trade. In contrast, Kami lacks all of these elements. There are no residential areas, no marketplaces, and no signs of permanent habitation or commerce. Instead of being a vibrant center of human activity, Kami takes on the form of an abstract structure where humans may not have been the central focus at all. Some scholars suggest that if Great Zimbabwe was the capital of the body, then Kami may have been a monastery of the soul, a space meant for the unseen world rather than for earthly inhabitants. Another layer of mystery: no writing, no symbols, no language has been found at Kami. Everything we know comes from the stones themselves, the layout, the materials, and the empty spaces. In an age before widespread literacy, these walls may have been books or stories etched in stone. But stripped of their cultural context, those words are now silent. Today, Kami is recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, celebrated for its historical and architectural significance, but its true purpose remains a mystery. Despite all the studies, models, and reconstructions, the central question still lingers. Why did people of the past build such massive, intricate walls, expensive, laborious, and seemingly useless? Perhaps the pointlessness was the point. A silent reminder that not everything humans create is driven by material need. That sometimes our greatest works are symbols representing something deeper, ineffable, and sacred. Something we can't explain, only feel. Do you believe that somewhere in Africa there's a book carved in stone that no one on Earth can read not a pyramid, not an ancient temple, but towering stone pillars standing silently across the wind-swept fields of Ethiopia, etched with mysterious symbols that appear in no other known civilization. They are not letters, not religious icons. They match no known ancient language, a lost form of communication, possibly never to be understood again. This is Tiya, a UNESCO World Heritage Site that the world has almost forgotten. Here, more than 40 massive standing stones, some over 3 meters tall, are arranged in deliberate rows as if remnants of a ritual, a forgotten faith, or an entire culture that vanished without a name. And the most haunting thing about Tiya, the symbols carved into the stones remain entirely undeciphered to this very day. What do you think the symbols on the Tiya stones mean? Are they the remnants of a lost language, a spiritual code, or perhaps a final message from a forgotten civilization? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Every theory could be a missing piece of the puzzle, and who knows, you might be the one to help unlock this ancient mystery. On the ancient stone pillars of Tiya, nestled in the highlands of Ethiopia, there exists a system of symbols that to this day remains completely beyond the reach of human interpretation. These are not Egyptian hieroglyphs, not Sumerian cuneiform, not even related to Ethiopia's ancient Ge'ez script. Instead, they belong to a strange visual system with no relatives, no precedents, and no dictionary to help us understand them. Many of the stones bear carvings resembling swords, complete with blades and handles, sometimes appearing alone, sometimes in pairs. Others display parallel lines or intersecting strokes as if meant to convey direction or encode information. Some show concentric circles, others resemble leaves or arrowheads. Strikingly, several of these motifs repeat across multiple stones, suggesting they once carried a consistent, perhaps even sacred meaning, yet they follow no known grammar or structure. Researchers believe these are not mere decorations. They might be ritual records, spiritual markers, or a form of visual language from a civilization that never made it into the pages of history. A culture that vanished quietly, taking with it the very key to its own story. What deepens the mystery further is this entire symbolic system exists only at Tiya. Nowhere else on Earth has anything remotely similar been discovered. If these were codes, why didn't they spread? If they were ritualistic, why are there no surviving traditions? This total isolation across space-time and historical memory is why many call Tiya by a haunting name. The stone book with all its pages torn out. One of the most perplexing things about Tiya is this: no historical record mentions the people who built it. The stone pillars have been dated to between the 12th and 15th centuries, not that ancient compared to many archaeological sites, yet they do not belong to the Aksumite Empire, nor do they bear any signs of Islamic influence or local indigenous religions. Whoever once lived here, if they existed as an organized community, vanished without leaving behind a single written word, a house, a manuscript, or any cultural artifact at all, except for the silent stones scattered across the plain. For this reason, scholars refer to them as a nameless culture, like a dream carved into stone, real yet impossible to name, present yet entirely outside the official flow of history. A ghost civilization, leaving behind only a few question marks beneath the Ethiopian sky. Many who see the standing stones at Tiya might assume they are mere monuments or remnants of some forgotten ritual. But when archaeologists began excavating beneath the surface, they uncovered a haunting truth. Many of the stones marked the locations of ancient graves. Human remains were found buried in unusual positions, some curled up, others lying on their sides, and notably many were interred alongside stone blades, broken pottery, or animal bones. Some skeletons showed signs of trauma, prompting researchers to suggest that Tiya was not simply a burial ground, but perhaps a site of warrior rites memorials for the fallen or even human sacrifice. The sword-like carvings on the stones therefore may symbolize honor sacrifice or sacred warning. This was not a place to hide death, it was a place to mark a death that meant something in a culture we no longer understand. Unlike random stones scattered aimlessly across a field, the pillars at Tiya are arranged in a deliberate and meaningful order. Some are aligned directly with the rising sun, evoking comparisons to ancient astronomical structures like Stonehenge, while others are placed in neat, intentional rows as if mapping out a sacred design upon the earth. Though there is no direct evidence that Tiya functioned as an observatory, the purposeful layout suggests that its builders possessed not only technical skill, but also abstract thinking and a distinct spiritual worldview. They may have tracked cosmic cycles, marked seasonal changes, or oriented the stones toward a realm of belief we can no longer access. Tiya was not merely a burial site, it was a sacred space shaped by an ideology that history has since forgotten. Although Tiya was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1980, it remains largely unknown to the world. There is no major museum built around it, no media campaigns to raise awareness, and no famous legends passed down through generations to keep its memory alive. Compared to sites like the pyramids of Giza Machu Picchu or Stonehenge, which draw millions of visitors each year and have become global icons, Tiya is almost forgotten on the map of world archaeology. It stands as a lonely enigma on the Ethiopian plains, holding within it messages that could reshape how we understand human history, yet no one stops to listen. This neglect is more than a missed opportunity. It is a sobering reminder that some of the most vital chapters of our past may vanish simply because no one is left to tell them. Standing among the ancient stones of Tiya, one does not simply see rock, but feels something deeply human, yet forever lost. The hands that carved these symbols must have carried beliefs, languages, rituals, dreams, and stories, yet none of us today can understand what they were trying to say. In an age when artificial intelligence can compose poetry and satellites can scan every millimeter of Earth's surface, the stones of Tiya still defy everything modern knowledge has to offer. Perhaps it is this very silence that is Tiya's final gift, a haunting reminder that not every mystery has an answer, and not every civilization leaves behind an echo we can still hear. Amidst the mist-covered ranges of the Himalayas, in a place rarely touched by modern footsteps, there stands a structure so strange, so otherworldly, that it seems to belong to no known era. This is not a typical ruin, not just weathered stones abandoned to time. It is a massive sculpture carved directly into the heart of a mountain, as if someone from an age lost to history once chiseled the earth and left behind their silent signature. This is the rock-cut temples of Masro, or as some call it, the temple carved from a mountain. No bricks were laid, no blocks were stacked, no mortar, no wood. All 15 temple towers of Masro were cut directly into a single, monolithic sandstone mass, forming a structure that belongs to one of the rarest architectural styles on Earth. What you see here rivals the Kailasa Temple at Ellora or Petra in Jordan, with one chilling difference: no one knows who built it. What do you think about a temple with no known builder, no historical records, and no explanation for how it was made? Could it be a forgotten creation of a long-lost ancient civilization, evidence of advanced technology that once existed on Earth, or simply a secret that history has chosen to hide? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Every theory, whether strange, bold, or skeptical, could be a vital piece of the unfinished puzzle of Masro. The transformation of a raw sandstone mountain into the elaborate Masro temple complex is nothing short of architectural alchemy. Sandstone, though softer than granite, is still a tough and brittle material, difficult to sculpt, especially with the rudimentary tools presumed to be available over 1,000 years ago. And yet at Masro, every column, staircase, shrine, and sacred figure was not assembled but carved directly into the living rock. From soaring domes and symmetrical pillars to ornate deity sculptures and door frames with razor-sharp detailing, all elements were executed with astonishing precision. There was no second chance, no trial and error. One miscalculation could have ruined the entire structure. And yet the builders achieved harmony, symmetry, and function on a scale that modern engineers struggle to explain. It leads us to an unsettling question. Did they use lost technologies, forgotten geometries, or were they guided by knowledge we no longer possess? When viewed from above or at a distance, the Masro temple complex is not just a collection of isolated stone towers, it reveals a deliberately tiered layout where smaller peripheral spires gradually rise toward a central main tower. The entire structure forms a stepped pyramid, reminiscent of ancient temples found in Egypt, South America, or Mesopotamia. Because of this striking design, many modern scholars refer to it as the Himalayan pyramid. This has sparked bold theories, suggesting the existence of a global architectural mindset shared among ancient civilizations, or perhaps even more provocatively, that there may have once been real transcontinental contact between cultures separated by thousands of miles from Asia to Africa and the Americas. A controversial idea, no doubt, but one that is difficult to dismiss outright. Among all the strange aspects surrounding the Masro temple complex, the most perplexing, and the one that most stirs the imagination, is this: we have absolutely no idea who built it. There are no stone inscriptions naming its founders, no ancient documents describing its construction, no widely known local folklore passed down through generations. Even in India's great epics like the Mahabharata or Ramayana, there is not a single mention of Masro. Masro feels like a ghost, carved in stone, suddenly appearing in the wilderness, as if someone once chiseled the earth and then vanished without leaving a trace. Some researchers speculate that it may have been built around the 8th century during the Katok dynasty or by regional Hindu kingdoms. But these theories are based solely on architectural style and religious iconography, not on any concrete historical evidence. And it is precisely this absence of records that has pushed Masro outside the bounds of official history, allowing all sorts of theories, from the reasonable to the wildly speculative, to thrive. Some believe it was an unfinished project, abandoned due to war, natural disaster, or the fall of a ruling dynasty. Others think it is a remnant of a long-lost ancient civilization, possibly one that existed before written history began. A more radical theory suggests that Masro was the creation of a secret ancient guild engineers and artisans who possessed knowledge far beyond their time, and who deliberately chose not to leave behind any written evidence of their existence. No matter which theory you lean toward, the absolute silence of Masro is an undeniable truth. It is not just an ancient temple, it is a question carved in stone, standing quietly for over 1,000 years, waiting for someone to finally uncover the answer. Who built this place, and why has every trace of them completely vanished? Some modern studies suggest that the main towers of the Masro temple may have been aligned with astronomical events, particularly the position of the sun during the equinoxes and solstices. This implies that the temple was not only a religious or artistic monument, but also encoded with a deep understanding of cosmic cycles and celestial movements. If true, the builders of Masro were not merely artisans, they were masters of astronomy, capable of observing and precisely calculating sunlight direction, solar angles, and seasonal shifts. An astonishing level of knowledge, especially for a remote mountain community more than 1,000 years ago. In 1905, a powerful earthquake devastated the Kangra region, causing many ancient structures in the area to collapse entirely or suffer severe damage. The Masro temple complex was not spared. Several spires cracked and parts of the outer sections crumbled. Yet what shocked observers was this: the central core of the temple, the most complex and massive part, remained almost completely intact. The reason may lie in Masro's unique construction. It was carved from a single solid block of stone with no joints, no mortar, and no separations. This monolithic design allowed the structure to evenly distribute seismic forces, something that stacked stone temples simply could not do. Masro is not just a work of art, it is a feat of engineering that continues to defy nature and time. Masro is not just an ancient structure, it is a void in the timeline, a question that has gone unanswered for over 200 years. No names, no inscriptions, no trace in history. All that remains is a colossal block of intricately carved stone, standing silently amid the mountains, like a message from the past meant for the future. And everyone who comes here is left asking the same thing. Who created this? How did they do it? And why did they vanish without leaving a single explanation? Buried deep in the heart of the Syrian desert, where the wind whispers through endless sands and not a single soul lingers, stands a ruined complex unlike any other. From afar, it seems like just another forgotten fortress, weathered by time, abandoned to the dust. But as you draw closer, something feels wrong. These towers rise tall and proud from the scorched earth, massive, imposing, and silent. Yet one detail stops you cold. There are no doors, no windows, no way in. Why would anyone build towers that no human could enter? What secrets lie within walls that were never meant to be crossed? And most of all, who were they built for? This is Qasr al-Hver al-Gharbi, and it might just be the strangest place in the desert you've never heard of. What do you think? Are these doorless stone towers simply architectural mistakes forgotten, religious symbols, or evidence of something far beyond our current understanding? Share your thoughts with us, because sometimes the mystery isn't what's inside, but the fact that you can't get in. At the very heart of Qasr al-Hver al-Gharbi lies a mystery that sends chills down the spine, a cluster of massive stone towers that cannot be entered. These towers, standing between 8 and 12 meters tall, were built with geometric precision and solid stone masonry. Their outer surfaces remain smooth and remarkably intact. Yet upon closer inspection, a strange truth emerges. They have no doors, no windows, no staircases, and no visible trace of any entrance. There are no sealed arches, no collapsed corridors, not even erosion marks that might suggest a once existing doorway. Each stone slab fits seamlessly, tightly, and intentionally. This is not the result of decay or abandonment, it is clearly part of the original design. And so the question remains, why would ancient builders construct such massive and costly structures if no one was ever meant to use them? In ancient Middle Eastern architecture, towers were always functional, used as watchtowers, granaries, dwellings, or ritual spaces, all requiring human access. But the towers at Qasr al-Hver al-Gharbi completely defy every practical purpose, as if they were never meant for human use at all. Their silence and inaccessibility suggest a symbolic or ritual role, or something even more elusive. A message encoded in stone, meant for no one, or for someone humanity can no longer understand. Qasr al-Hver al-Gharbi stands isolated in the harsh desert of eastern Syria, a place with no rivers, no vegetation, and completely removed from any known ancient settlements. This presents a major paradox. Why would ancient people choose such a remote, arid, and uninhabitable location to construct a large-scale complex complete with multi-level stone structures, intricate carvings, and even a water system? Could it be that the true purpose of this place lies beyond the ordinary needs of habitation or trade? One of the early theories regarding the doorless towers at Qasr al-Hver al-Gharbi suggested that they might have served as military watchtowers or signal towers, a common feature in early Islamic Umayyad architecture. However, this theory was quickly dismissed because no traces of staircases, internal floors, or rooftop access have been found, making a military function highly unlikely. Today, some researchers believe that these towers were more symbolic than practical, possibly functioning as monuments of power built by the Umayyad state to mark control over remote frontier regions, like a political declaration carved in stone. A bolder theory proposes that the towers may have been connected to ancient religious rituals rooted in local pre-Islamic beliefs, though no clear archaeological evidence has yet been found to support this. One aspect that has drawn particular attention from archaeologists is the precision and uniformity in the construction of these towers. There is no indication that they were left unfinished or built with technical errors. On the contrary, the fact that the towers are completely sealed appears to have been intentional from the start, suggesting that the builders were conveying some kind of message, perhaps one of absolute power, sacred isolation, or even a meaning beyond ordinary human understanding. From a symbolic perspective, a tower that no one can enter might represent divine authority, a place reserved only for the chosen, or something that doesn't belong to the human world at all. This theory raises the possibility that the towers are the final remnants of a forgotten system of ritual belief or spiritual culture, leaving behind only their physical forms, standing silently amid the dust of time. In addition to the sealed and mysterious towers, the Qasr al-Hver al-Gharbi complex also stands out for its unusual blend of architectural styles. Within a single area, one can find Byzantine-style arches, finely carved Roman-influenced windows, and ceremonial spaces alongside stone corridors built in the early Islamic Umayyad style. Notably, archaeological evidence points to the existence of a public bathhouse, hammam, food storage facilities, and meeting rooms, indicating that the site once served an organized community. However, there's a puzzling contradiction. No clear signs of long-term habitation have been found. No domestic foundations, no cemeteries, and no everyday artifacts. Could it be that Qasr al-Hver al-Gharbi was only used briefly, or was it a ceremonial center constructed solely to display power and prestige rather than to house people? Although Qasr al-Hver al-Gharbi lies in the heart of a barren desert with no natural water sources, archaeologists were stunned to discover beneath the sand the remains of a sophisticated water management system, including canals, reservoirs, irrigation ditches, and structures designed to control the flow of water. These features suggest that the site was once deliberately engineered to support temporary habitation or serve a specific, possibly strategic purpose. The deeper mystery remains: who built this system, with what technology, and for what purpose, in a place almost impossible to cultivate? Perhaps they were trying to resist the harsh forces of nature to maintain a strategic outpost. Or more unsettlingly, perhaps they were trying to hide something from the rest of the world, using the desert's isolation and silence as a veil to conceal a purpose we still do not understand. Today, Qasr al-Hver al-Gharbi is virtually absent from public discussions about Syria's heritage. Buried beneath sand, and forgotten by time, it seems to have vanished from the historical map. Yet for serious scholars, it is considered an archaeological anomaly of exceptional significance. A site where too many things feel off, completely sealed, towers, a water system in the middle of the desert, an unusual blend of Eastern and Western architecture, and a strangely isolated location. Perhaps these structures once played a clear role in a historical context we've entirely lost, or more unsettlingly, perhaps they still guard a secret no one has yet unlocked. A message in stone, unspoken and enduring, sent from the distant past to the future. Not everything is meant for humans to enter. Petra, the rose-colored gem of the Jordanian desert, is world-famous for its majestic facades carved directly into sandstone cliffs. The treasury looks like something pulled from legend, while ancient royal tombs glow in the desert's golden light. Millions of visitors have walked these ancient streets, marveling at the beauty etched into stone. But what almost no one realizes is that beneath their very feet, another world lies hidden. A massive underground labyrinth filled with tunnels, sealed chambers, conduits, and forgotten voids rests deep beneath layers of sandstone and centuries of dust. There is no map, no clear entrance, and almost no one has stepped into these depths for thousands of years. This isn't a side note to Petra's glory. It could be a second Petra, an underground city never fully mapped, where some of the oldest secrets of religion, ritual, and breathtaking engineering remain sealed in the shadows. What do you think is buried beneath Petra? A mysterious ritual system, undiscovered treasures, or perhaps an entirely different city that humanity has never seen before? Share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. We'd love to know what you imagine is hidden in the shadows beneath Petra's ancient ground. Hidden beneath the grandeur of Petra lies an underground labyrinth whose true scale remains almost completely unknown to archaeologists. Despite decades of excavation and study, experts still admit that no complete map of this subterranean world exists. The tunnels, sealed chambers, water conduits, and mysterious voids all remain beyond the reach of current understanding. On modern archaeological charts, most of underground Petra appears as blank spaces yet to be filled in. Saying it is still unmapped is not just a metaphor, it is a staggering reality, one that highlights the astonishing limits of our knowledge about one of the most deeply buried and sophisticated engineering feats of the Nabatean civilization. The Nabateans, Petra's ancient builders, were master engineers. They carved cities into cliffs, designed sophisticated water delivery systems in the heart of the desert, and developed a hidden infrastructure to support their growing population and ceremonial needs. Beneath the visible monuments, researchers have found evidence of tunnel systems running through hills, cutting under major temples, and even connecting distant areas of the city. Some of these tunnels are only a few meters deep, while others descend further into unknown voids. What lies in these lower levels is still largely a mystery. This lack of mapping is not due to a lack of interest, but to extreme difficulty. Petra's tunnels are dangerous, fragile, and often entirely sealed by rockfalls or centuries of sand and debris. Some chambers are so tight that even remote-controlled cameras can't navigate them easily. Others are located beneath important heritage structures, making excavation risky or even forbidden. In other words, the knowledge is buried literally, and unlocking it would require a delicate blend of technology, patience, and archaeological precision. The few tunnels that have been partially explored reveal a mind-blowing level of planning. In several areas, tunnels were used not just for water distribution via underground canals, clay pipes, and hidden cisterns, but possibly for processional pathways, ritual movement, or strategic access between sacred spaces. For example, it is suspected that some of the larger temples may have hidden routes connecting them to storage areas, ceremonial rooms, or perhaps even secret gathering chambers used by the priesthood. These connections remain speculative because most of the underground layout is still unknown. Radar scans and ground-penetrating surveys have hinted at large voids and possible passageways beneath Petra's most prominent landmarks, including the Great Temple, the Qasr al-Bint, and the royal tombs. However, these scans are merely suggestive. They cannot confirm what lies within the voids without excavation. The idea that Petra has a second hidden city beneath its feet, a shadow Petra if you will, remains tantalizingly unproven. Moreover, this lack of a complete map poses serious challenges for preservation. Without understanding what lies beneath, engineers and conservators risk damaging underground structures when maintaining or restoring Petra's visible monuments. In a city carved from rock, where underground and above-ground structures often share the same sandstone matrix, the integrity of one layer can deeply affect the other. This makes the need to map Petra's tunnels not just a matter of curiosity, but of cultural survival. The implications of this unmapped world are staggering. If new tunnels were found to connect known temples and monuments, it could radically alter how we understand Petra's layout, ceremonial practices, and daily life. Hidden chambers might contain new inscriptions, artifacts, or even burial sites untouched for 2 millennia. The possibility that ancient knowledge, perhaps religious texts or cultural records, lies sealed beneath the desert floor is a real and thrilling prospect. Beyond the tunnels, Petra's subterranean hydraulic systems deserve special mention. The Nabateans built underground aqueducts, dams, reservoirs, and pressure-regulated water channels. Some of these systems still function to this day, channeling water through invisible veins beneath the city. It's a feat of ancient engineering so sophisticated that modern experts continue to study how it was done and why such knowledge seemed to vanish for centuries afterward. Even more intriguing are the rooms carved deep into rock and sealed from the outside. Were they tombs, storage rooms, ceremonial spaces without access? Archaeologists can only guess. In recent years, using 3D scans and limited robot-assisted probes, researchers have located several such voids, sometimes with staircases leading downward, sometimes with smooth walls suggesting ritual use. But still, most remain locked behind solid rock or layers of sediment that have built up over thousands of years. Exploration is further hampered by Petra's fragility. The sandstone is easily damaged, meaning heavy excavation could destroy more than it reveals. Additionally, Petra is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and any intervention must pass strict international guidelines. These are just some of the reasons why so much of Petra's underground world remains uncharted. To put it simply, while tourists walk the paths of Petra's majestic avenues and photograph its grand facades, few realize they may be standing above an entirely different world, one that remains largely unseen. The city beneath the city may contain Petra's deepest secrets, from how it was built to how it functioned in its spiritual and political life. Unlocking that world would not only deepen our understanding of Petra, it could reshape what we know about ancient engineering desert civilizations and how humans have long worked to master their environments in the most hidden of ways. In a place already so rich in mystery, Petra's unmapped underground network stands as perhaps its greatest riddle. For now, it remains a blank on the archaeological map, a vast echoing space waiting to be revealed. But when that day comes and the tunnels are finally traced and understood, we may discover that the real heart of Petra lies not in its carved cliffs, but in its forgotten depths below. Beneath the searing sun of northern Kenya, where endless wind sculpts the desert and savanna into silence, something ancient still stands. Not a pyramid, not a temple, not the ruins of any great kingdom, but buried in dust and forgotten by history, there lies a monument older than the Egyptian pyramids, built not by kings or priests, but by herders wandering an ever-changing land. Its centerpiece, a massive, mysterious stone pillar rising from the earth, like a question mark carved in basalt. This is Lothagam, North Africa's oldest known ceremonial monument, and one of the most extraordinary prehistoric sites that almost no one has heard of. Who built it? Why here, in the middle of nowhere? And what message were they trying to leave behind in stone? What you're about to discover isn't just a forgotten landmark. It's a doorway into a lost world, one where nomadic people, against all odds, built something to last forever. What do you think this pillar was meant to represent? A spiritual beacon, a community gathering place, or maybe something we haven't even imagined yet? Let us know what you think in the comments below. We'd love to hear your theories. Built nearly 5,000 years ago during a period of dramatic climate change that turned fertile East African landscapes into harsh, semi-arid terrain, the Lothagam North Pillar site wasn't the work of pharaohs or kings. No royal name is carved into its stones. Its builders were nomadic pastoralists, small mobile groups herding cattle across an unpredictable environment, constantly adapting to survive. These were people without permanent cities, without written language, without centralized power. And yet they created something remarkable, a monumental ceremonial site with a towering stone pillar at its heart. In a world where daily life was about movement and survival, they paused collectively to build something meant to endure. A fixed point in a shifting world. A marker in stone that silently says, "We were here." At first glance, Lothagam North appears to be nothing more than a pile of stones lying quietly in a barren land. No signs, no story, no name. To the untrained eye, it could seem like a random scatter of rocks left behind by nature. But as archaeologists began to excavate the site, they uncovered something astonishing. The stones were not placed at random, but followed a deliberate layout with clear ceremonial design and multiple layers of symbolic meaning. At the very heart of the site stands a massive upright pillar, several meters tall, constructed from multi-ton basalt blocks, a material not found naturally in the area. These giant stones were brought in from distant locations. How exactly remains a mystery. What is clear, however, is that this could not have been the work of a single person or a random effort. It was the result of a tightly coordinated community, united by a shared will, a collective vision, and a deep spiritual purpose. Surrounding the central pillar are layered stone circles and large mounded structures forming a solemn ceremonial space. Everything about it suggests one thing. This was not merely a burial ground, it was a sacred place for rituals, for connection, and for something meant to last. Imagine a nomadic society, no metal tools, no wheels, no machinery. Yet they organized manpower, transported massive stones, and built a monument that would defy time itself. It was more than just an engineering feat, it was the highest expression of communal faith and spiritual longing, the desire to leave behind something that outlives death, outlasts generations. No one knows for certain what the pillar symbolized. Was it a spiritual beacon, a landmark for memory and unity, or perhaps just a silent declaration that they had once existed, once connected, and once believed in something greater than themselves? Whatever its meaning, that pillar standing still through thousands of years is a clear voice from the past, reminding us that humans, even in the harshest conditions, have always tried to etch their presence into the universe with the most enduring material we know, stone. Unlike the royal tombs of Egypt or Europe, where death reflected status, power, and hierarchy, Lothagam was a communal cemetery where everyone was buried equally without social distinction. Hundreds of individuals, from infants and the elderly to women and men, were laid to rest side by side in a shared burial space. There were no signs of separate chambers, no grand architecture reserved for an elite class. All were treated the same in death. Some individuals were buried with ornaments made of ivory stone shells or bone, not as symbols of privilege, but perhaps as personal memorials or spiritual tokens. This reveals something deeper. A belief in ancestral memory, or possibly an afterlife, was a core spiritual value in this community. For centuries, the prevailing view in archaeology and history has been that only settled agricultural societies with clear hierarchies were capable of building large structures, developing organized religious rituals, and cultivating complex cultures. In traditional thinking, nomadic life was associated with impermanence, improvisation, and a lack of structure. But the Lothagam North Pillar site directly challenges that assumption. This monument was not built by urban dwellers or ancient kingdoms. It was created by nomadic groups without fixed settlements, sustainable agriculture, or centralized political power. And yet they organized, planned, and cooperated to construct a large-scale ceremonial monument, symbolic in purpose and enduring for millennia. This proves that nomadic communities were fully capable of deep spiritual life, strong collective identity, and powerful communal memory. Ancestral remembrance, sacred belief, and social cohesion formed the cultural foundation, even in societies that never stayed in one place. Despite its outstanding archaeological value and its potential to reshape how we understand the history of human civilization, Lothagam North remains almost entirely absent from public memory. There are no major documentaries about it, no mentions in school textbooks, and no tourist routes that lead there. One of the oldest memorial cemeteries in Africa has been forgotten, not because it is insignificant, but because it isn't tied to any powerful empire. While the world continues to celebrate the grandeur of pyramids and glittering temples, Lothagam stands as a whisper from the past, reminding us that it is not only great civilizations that deserve remembrance. Even nameless communities, if we take the time to listen, can leave behind monuments that endure beyond time. An archaeological mystery, a witness to faith, community, and reverence for the dead, or perhaps a profound statement that humanity, regardless of wealth or geography, has always longed to leave something behind that outlives the body. Maybe that silent pillar in the Kenyan desert has already spoken louder than any written language ever could. In the vast taiga forests of Siberia, where few human feet have ever tread, where snow blankets the ground year-round and silence has reigned for centuries, there lies a nameless, abandoned structure without explanation. Here, among desolate cliffs, gigantic granite blocks, weighing up to 3,000 tons, stand stacked upon one another with astonishing precision, as if someone or something deliberately placed each stone exactly where it belongs. No mortar, no foundation. Just stone blocks, taller than a two-story house, arranged neatly like a divine game of building blocks. Who could have lifted stones that weigh 40 times more than the largest blocks in the Great Pyramid of Giza? Why were they brought to such a remote, nearly inaccessible location? And more importantly, why has all of human history remained completely silent about this place? This is not just a pile of rocks. It is a challenge hurled across time, a structure that defies understanding, breaks the rules of archaeology and forces us to ask, is there something about our past we were never meant to know? What do you think about this place? Could it be a natural formation, a bizarre and rare geological coincidence? Or is it the forgotten ruin of a vanished civilization, one that left no trace in any known record? Could this be a sign of extraterrestrial intelligence, or perhaps a message deliberately hidden or lost by history itself? Share your theories and thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to know, if you were standing in front of these 3,000-ton stones deep in the Siberian wilderness, what would you believe? Throughout history, we've marveled at humanity's ancient engineering feats, from the towering pyramids of Giza with their 80-ton limestone blocks to Stonehenge's upright megaliths, or the Cyclopean stones at Baalbek, some reaching over 1,000 tons. These structures have long been considered the pinnacle of ancient construction. But then comes Mount Shorya, quietly tucked away in the forests of Siberia, shattering every benchmark we thought existed. Here, granite blocks are estimated to weigh between 2,000 and 3,000 tons each a weight, so extreme it borders on the incomprehensible. That's the mass of 500 full-grown elephants, not just once, but repeated stone after stone. Even more unsettling is how these behemoths are not strewn randomly, as one might expect in a natural rockfall. They are stacked, layered, and upright, forming walls, tiers, and interlocking placements. No ancient crane, no ramp, no known technology could have performed this. And yet, here it stands. Who built this, and with what power? In nearly every ancient wonder ever discovered, no matter how strange, there is usually some trace of human presence, a broken tool, a carved image, a few lines of script, or at the very least, a folk legend, passed down through generations. But the Shorya megaliths stand as a stunning exception. Hidden deep within the remote mountains of Siberia, this site features colossal stone blocks stacked upon one another, yet there is absolutely no evidence that humans were ever there. No writing, no artwork, no symbols etched into the stone, no tools, no foundations, no graves, no temples, not a single cultural or ritual trace. And perhaps most unsettling of all, not a single historical record, ancient or oral, has ever mentioned this place. This makes Shorya entirely unlike the pyramids of Egypt, whose walls are covered in hieroglyphs, or Stonehenge, surrounded by ancient burial mounds, or Baalbek, situated at the heart of a known Phoenician settlement. Shorya feels as if it was never remembered by any civilization, a perfect cultural void. And that silence is not just strange, it's disturbing. It is precisely this total absence that has led many researchers to ask uncomfortable questions. Could there have once been a civilization so thoroughly forgotten or deliberately erased from history? Or is this the remnant of something humanity was never meant to uncover? While the sheer size of the stones is enough to astonish most observers, it's the way they appear to be shaped that truly baffles scientists. Upon closer inspection, many of the blocks at Shorya display surfaces that are nearly perfectly flat, with sharp right angles and even edges that look as if they were shaved smooth by a giant blade. These are not the rounded, irregular surfaces one would expect from natural weathering. Instead, they show clear signs of artificial geometry, as if they had been carved by precision tools, possibly mechanical in nature. Some traditional geologists suggest these features could result from natural crystalline fracturing in granite, which can produce flat surfaces. But this theory fails to explain how these massive blocks ended up stacked vertically several meters high in formations that seem intentional rather than accidental. To achieve that would require not only immense lifting power, but also an extraordinary level of control over the placement and shape of each block, something nature is highly unlikely to accomplish on its own. These puzzling features have reignited debate. Were human hands really behind these stones? Or are we looking at the work of a force or intelligence that history has yet to name? The Shorya megaliths lie hidden deep within the mountainous forests of Kemerovo Oblast in southern Siberia, one of the wildest and most inaccessible regions left on Earth. Surrounded by vast, untouched taiga forests, the area endures a harsh climate, with long winters blanketed in heavy snow and short, damp summers. The terrain is rugged, with no major roads, no nearby settlements, and virtually no tourism activity. This extreme isolation meant that the Shorya megaliths remained off the academic radar for centuries. It wasn't until 2014 that the site suddenly drew attention when a research team, led by Russian archaeologist Georgy Sidorov, released the first series of photographs. The images spread rapidly across the internet, sparking both excitement and skepticism. Some believed the photos were fabricated, but satellite imagery and local reports quickly confirmed this place is real, and it looks like nothing humanity has ever seen before. Perhaps the most baffling thing about the Shorya megaliths isn't the size of the stone blocks, but the fact that the structure has no recognizable form. There are no corridors, no rooms, no signs of art, religion, or ritual. It doesn't resemble a temple, nor does it look like a tomb or any type of ancient dwelling we know of. What remains are simply enormous stone blocks, stacked, standing upright, interlocked, as if built for a purpose no one can understand, or perhaps never meant for humans at all. Could this be just the foundation of a much larger structure that was destroyed long ago? Or is it some kind of ancient marker left behind by a culture that has completely vanished? One can't help but wonder whether this could even be the remnant of a technology that once existed and was erased from history. We simply don't know. There are no blueprints, no inscriptions, no clues to explain it. All that remains is the silent presence of stone that defies every rule we know. Many theories have been proposed, from natural formation to ancient giants, from lost civilizations to extraterrestrial origin. But none of them offer enough solid evidence to fully explain what the Shorya megaliths are. One thing is certain: they exist, and they are unlike anything else we've discovered on Earth. Maybe it's a stunning geological coincidence. Maybe it's a buried relic of a forgotten age. Or maybe it's proof that humanity doesn't understand its past as well as it thinks it does. In a small town in Lebanon called Baalbek, nestled among the ruins of ancient temples, lies a colossal mystery that has left archaeologists, engineers, and historians baffled for centuries. Megalithic stone blocks, weighing thousands of tons, precisely cut, transported, and placed with near-perfect accuracy from an era when humans were believed to be using only bronze tools. These stones are unlike anything else from the ancient world. The most famous, the Stone of the Pregnant Woman, is estimated to weigh 1,000 tons to 1,200 tons, over 20 meters long and 4 meters wide. Nearby archaeologists have discovered even larger blocks, potentially weighing up to 1,650 tons, equivalent to the combined weight of nearly 3 Boeing 747 airplanes. What's astonishing is that these blocks are located beneath the foundation of the Temple of Jupiter, which the Romans built in the 1st century AD. And yet it's clear that the foundation itself, where the largest stones reside, could not have been Roman. Why? Because the Romans never used stones of this size for foundations, and they lacked the technology to move such massive blocks. While they were master builders even in Rome's Colosseum, they used stones weighing only a few dozen tons, a modest scale compared to Baalbek. Moreover, Roman records make no mention of how such a foundation was constructed, adding to suspicions that the massive platform beneath the Temple of Jupiter had existed long before the Romans arrived, perhaps created by a lost civilization. And this is precisely what sets Baalbek apart from other ancient sites. Archaeological evidence cannot clearly determine who first shaped these megaliths or when exactly they were placed. Some scholars suggest they could date back as far as 9,000 years, predating ancient Egypt's Sumer and Babylon. Bolder theories speculate that these stones belong to a prehistoric civilization that was wiped out by natural disasters, war, or events unrecorded in human history. As a result, Baalbek has become the center of countless theories. Was it once a ceremonial hub of a forgotten culture? Did they possess lifting technologies that were lost to time? Did ancient people know things we've long forgotten? Some theories even propose the involvement of extraterrestrial intelligence, since no conventional technology can explain the precision stone-cutting technique or ability to place blocks weighing over 1,000 tons with such exactness. To this day, no widely accepted explanation exists. All we have are these silent stones, basking in the sunlight of Lebanon, challenging mainstream history, questioning the capabilities of our ancestors, and most of all, defying the limits of human imagination. What do you think about the massive stone blocks at Baalbek? Are they the work of a long-lost civilization, evidence of forgotten ancient technology, or something even stranger? Share your thoughts, opinions, or theories in the comments below. Every perspective brings us one step closer to the truth, or at the very least, makes this mystery even more fascinating. Tucked away in the rugged highlands of eastern Anatolia, where modern-day Turkey, Armenia, and Iran converge, lies the legacy of one of the ancient world's most enigmatic kingdoms, Urartu. Though once a mighty rival to the Assyrian Empire, Urartu has largely faded from public consciousness, leaving behind only scattered ruins, undeciphered inscriptions, and a profound archaeological mystery. Emerging in the 9th century BCE, Urartu established itself as a formidable power in the Near East. Its capital, Tushpa, located near Lake Van, was protected by dramatic cliffs and natural fortifications. Unlike the lowland empires, Urartu's mountainous geography shaped a unique civilization, one defined by resilience, engineering brilliance, and a deep spiritual worldview. The Urartians built massive fortresses and palaces from finely cut stone blocks, fitted so precisely that no mortar was needed, a construction style echoing techniques seen in Incan architecture, though separated by continents and millennia. Their architectural feats still stand today, testament to a people deeply skilled in stonework and urban planning. Even more impressive was Urartu's advanced irrigation systems. The Menua Canal, stretching over 50 kilometers, channeled mountain water to support agriculture and sustain large urban centers, and parts of it are still in use. These projects, carved through bedrock and planned with geometric precision, reveal a mastery of hydraulics unmatched in their time. Urartu's culture was deeply spiritual, centered around a pantheon of deities, led by Haldi, a war god often depicted standing atop a lion. Their temples and shrines were built with ceremonial precision, and inscriptions, though not fully understood, hint at rich rituals and state-sponsored religion. The Urartian script, a cuneiform system linked to the Hurrian language, remains partially undeciphered, shrouding much of their history in silence. But perhaps the greatest mystery of all is not how Urartu rose, but how it disappeared. By the late 7th century BCE, signs of decline began to appear. Invasions by the Scythian Cimmerians and finally the Medes destabilized the kingdom. Yet instead of a decisive collapse recorded in ancient texts, Urartu faded from the historical record. No great battle, no detailed conquest, just a gradual vanishing. Within a few decades, the name Urartu vanished from inscriptions. Their cities fell silent. The mountains they once ruled returned to isolation. Some scholars suggest that the Urartians were assimilated into the emerging Armenian culture, possibly becoming the ancestors of the Armenians. Others believe waves of nomadic pressure fractured the kingdom irreparably, but no definitive answer has been found. The sudden silence, the absence of continuity, and the lack of clear descendants make Urartu's disappearance one of the most haunting enigmas in ancient history. Today, Urartu remains a kingdom of questions. Its stone walls whisper stories we can't fully hear. Its gods no longer receive offerings. And its people, once proud masters of mountain and stone, seem to have stepped off the stage of history without a final word. What do you think really happened to the kingdom of Urartu? Was it destroyed in silence, or did it simply evolve into something else? Share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. We'd love to hear how you interpret one of history's greatest vanishing acts. Deep in the remote jungles of Ecuador lies a cave system that has captured the imagination of explorers, conspiracy theorists, and even astronauts. Tiya's Cave, or Cueva de los Tayos, isn't just a natural wonder, it is the heart of one of the most mysterious and controversial treasure hunts of the 20th century. What began as a simple exploration turned into a story laced with ancient legends, forbidden knowledge, and an alleged underground library made entirely of metal. The most extraordinary claim came in 1969 when Argentine-Hungarian explorer Juan Moritz announced he had discovered an enormous underground vault deep within Tiya's Cave. Inside, he claimed, were hundreds of metal plates neatly arranged and engraved with strange, unknown symbols and pictographs. According to Moritz, these weren't random artifacts. They were the remnants of a lost civilization, possibly even linked to ancient Atlantis. This so-called metal library was said to contain vast knowledge, scientific, spiritual, and historical, preserved for millennia by a people far more advanced than we've ever known. Moritz further insisted that the local Shua people had guided him into the hidden chamber. He described the location in detail, speaking of geometrically perfect tunnels, straight-cut walls, and vast stone chambers that seemed too precise to be natural. Some sections of the cave allegedly resembled engineered corridors with perfectly flat floors and right-angled walls, sparking debates about whether the cave was shaped by human hands, extraterrestrial visitors, or advanced ancient technology. What made the story explode into public consciousness was the 1976 British-Ecuadorian expedition, which included an unexpected guest, Neil Armstrong, the first man on the moon. His presence added a surreal twist to the mystery. Why would a NASA astronaut be involved in a jungle expedition unless there was something truly extraordinary hidden within? While the official story claimed it was a scientific mission with no discoveries of great significance, whispers persisted that footage, data, and findings were quietly classified or lost. Despite decades of rumors, no verifiable evidence of the metal library has ever been released. Moritz himself grew increasingly secretive and eventually died under circumstances that some believe were suspicious. Others who attempted to follow in his footsteps were either stopped by bureaucracy, lost in the dense Amazonian terrain, or came back empty-handed. Yet, the myth refuses to die. To this day, Tiya's Cave remains a magnet for adventurers and researchers seeking answers. Did a forgotten civilization truly encode their wisdom on sheets of metal beneath the earth? Or was it all a grand fabrication built on the mix of native folklore, ancient alien theories, and the thirst for wonder? The metal library stands as one of the great unsolved mysteries of modern times, a tantalizing legend caught between fact and fantasy. Whether real or imagined, it challenges our understanding of history, technology, and the secrets the Earth may still be hiding. Do you believe the metal library actually exists deep inside Tiya's cave? Why or why not? If the metal library were real, who do you think created it? And what knowledge might be hidden inside? Share your thoughts in the comments. In the world of unsolved mysteries, few have haunted historians and treasure hunters more than the Amber Room. This was not merely a work of art, it was the embodiment of a culture, a royal legacy, and a grand enigma that remains unsolved to this day. Often called the eighth wonder of the world, the Amber Room was a masterpiece crafted by German and Russian artisans in the 18th century and assembled in the Catherine Palace near St. Petersburg. Its interior was entirely covered in more than 6 tons of precious amber, adorned with gold leaf and mirrors, creating a space of dazzling light and overwhelming luxury, a timeless symbol of opulence and prestige. Yet what makes the Amber Room a global mystery is not just its breathtaking beauty, but its strange and complete disappearance during World War II. In 1941, as Nazi forces invaded Soviet territory, the German army dismantled the entire Amber Room in less than 3 days, carefully packed it, and transported it to be displayed in a museum in Königsberg, East Prussia. After that, all records of the room seemed to vanish from history. Since 1945, no one has been able to confirm the Amber Room's ultimate fate. There are no photographs of its removal, no packaging documents, no shipping records. No living witness has ever definitively claimed to have seen it after the war. The Amber Room appears to have vanished from the physical world without explanation, even though it was once one of the most celebrated royal treasures in Europe. This disappearance has turned it into a living legend, a symbol of secrets, perhaps still buried deep underground or lost beneath the sea. Many theories have been proposed. Some believe the room was completely destroyed in a fire during Allied bombings of Königsberg. Others think it was secretly moved to an underground bunker in Poland, Germany, or even hidden deep within Russian tunnels before the Germans could relocate it. Still others insist the room survives to this day, locked away in a lost hoard or held by a private collector unwilling to reveal it to the world. Even more unsettling are the mysterious deaths and unexplained accidents linked to those who have attempted to find the Amber Room, fueling rumors of a cursed treasure that punishes those who dare to search for it. Today, a painstakingly reconstructed replica of the Amber Room stands in Russia, the result of 20 years of research and restoration. But it remains only a shadow, a model recreated from memories documents and old black and white photos. The original, with its raw amber panels and layers of historical dust from royal dynasties, still lies somewhere in the shadows of history, challenging the imagination and efforts of the entire world. The Amber Room is not just a stolen chamber. It is a symbol of a heritage devoured by war, a cultural and material treasure beyond replacement, and above all, a mystery that compels humanity to ask what really happened after 1945. Comment: questions for the audience. What do you think really happened to the Amber Room after 1945? Was it completely destroyed, or is it still hidden, somewhere waiting to be discovered? If you had the chance, where would you search for the Amber Room? Deep beneath Poland, in a German mine, or on the floor of the Baltic Sea? Share your thoughts in the comments. Throughout the existence of East Germany (GDR), a nation nestled in the heart of Europe and cloaked behind the Iron Curtain of the Cold War, there were numerous strange reports involving unidentified flying objects, UFOs. While public documentation of such events in East Germany is far scarcer than in Western countries, it is precisely this prolonged silence that makes the eyewitness accounts even more mysterious and haunting. What makes East German UFO encounters especially remarkable is the identity of the witnesses, not only civilians, but also military personnel and border guards, individuals trained to observe, react to, and accurately report unusual phenomena. Several former soldiers stationed near the West German border recounted chilling night shifts when they unexpectedly saw glowing objects, disc or sphere-shaped, hovering silently in the sky, producing no engine sound at all. Even stranger, these objects often moved against the wind, changed direction abruptly, and accelerated at incredible speeds, behaviors beyond the capability of any known aircraft at the time. In residential areas such as Leipzig, Dresden, and several rural regions in the east, civilians also reported bizarre lights appearing in the night sky. One man from the Erzgebirge region recalled a winter night in 1982 when he and his family saw a radiant blue orb of light hovering near a forest before it vanished in an instant, leaving behind an eerie silence. Another case involved a group of miners in Lausitz who described seeing a blinding red light appear in broad daylight like a second sun, yet it emitted no heat or sound. Still, all this information seemed to be halted at the local level. Military eyewitnesses said their reports never received official responses, and in some cases, they were even ordered to remain silent in the name of national security. In the context of East Germany, a surveillance state where abnormal behavior could be deemed subversive, it's entirely plausible that UFO reports were censored or buried. Some modern UFO researchers argue that these encounters exhibit all the classic features of genuine UFO phenomena: movement, defying physical laws, complete silence, and strange interaction with the environment. Some speculate they may have been NATO spy aircraft or even secret Soviet-backed technology experiments. Yet even these theories leave many unanswered questions, such as the object's ability to disappear without a trace or repeatedly appear in the same region over long periods. And to this day, more than 3 decades after East Germany unified with the West, no comprehensive disclosure has ever been made about these UFO incidents. That only deepens the mystery surrounding these strange encounters between humans and something that perhaps came from far beyond any known border. What do you think really appeared in the skies over East Germany? Was it an alien UFO, a Cold War spy aircraft or something? No one dares to reveal even today. Why do you think governments like East Germany or the Soviet Union kept these incidents secret? Were they hiding advanced technology or just trying to avoid public panic? Share your thoughts in the comments. If we had to choose one year when all of humanity collectively plunged into darkness, both literally and figuratively, it would be the year 536 AD. There was no war, no meteor strike, yet the entire world seemed to halt in its tracks, sinking into gloom and chaos. That year, the sky turned a strange, ashen gray. The sun, the very source of life on Earth, was obscured for many months, with no clear explanation. And what initially appeared to be just a climate anomaly would go on to trigger a chain of global catastrophes, leading modern researchers to call it the worst year to be alive in human history. Strange records appeared in ancient historical texts from all corners of the world, from the Roman Empire, the Byzantine Empire, to China and the Middle East. They all described a nearly identical phenomenon. The sun no longer shone, its light dim and dull, like a pale moon, and a thick haze blanketed the sky for over 18 months. The renowned Byzantine historian Procopius wrote, "The sun gave forth its light without brightness, like the moon. There was no clear shadow, and people did not know what was happening. In China, historical texts spoke of snow falling in the summer, fruit trees failing to bear, and crops perishing entirely. Today, we know this wasn't some astronomical or supernatural event. It was very likely the aftermath of a massive volcanic eruption. Ice core samples from Greenland and Antarctica reveal high concentrations of sulfur and volcanic ash exactly at the year 536, suggesting that a global-scale eruption, possibly from Iceland or the Arctic, sent ash into the stratosphere, forming a giant sun-blocking veil around the Earth. Without sunlight, global temperatures dropped rapidly by 1.5 to 2.5 degrees, enough to devastate fragile ecosystems and agricultural systems of ancient civilizations. And the consequences: crop failures and famine. Empires like Byzantium fell into severe food crises. People in China struggled against erratic climate and disease. But the worst was yet to come. Just a few years later, in 541, another deadly event struck: the Justinian plague, killing over 30 to 50 million people, nearly half the population of the Mediterranean. Many historians believe that the sudden cooling and unstable climate created ideal conditions for pathogens to spread on a massive scale. The year 536 was not an isolated catastrophe. It was the beginning of a dark chapter that would last nearly a century. Many ancient empires never recovered. It was a time when science was too primitive to offer answers, religion couldn't provide comfort, and people could only look up at the dim skies, waiting for the light to return in vain. That's why, for many modern scientists and historians, 536 marks the true beginning of the Dark Ages, a time defined not just by the absence of cultural progress, but by the literal absence of sunlight. What do you think would happen if an event like the year 536 repeated itself in our modern world, a world that relies so heavily on technology, energy, and global supply chains? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear how you think we'd react to a global veil of darkness like that. Would modern humans be stronger or more vulnerable than our ancestors from blunt 500 years ago? Amid the desolate frozen silence of Antarctica, a continent long thought to be completely inhospitable to ancient life, emerges a structure with a strikingly perfect pyramidal shape. Satellite images and publicly available topographical data, such as those from Google Earth, reveal what appears to be a large ice-covered mountain with sharply defined sides, flat plains, and a pointed summit, almost as if it were designed by human hands. This discovery has sparked intense debates, wild theories, and dreams of a lost civilization entombed beneath the ice. What truly stuns people is not just the unusual shape, but the location of this structure. According to all conventional scientific knowledge, Antarctica is a land entirely devoid of human habitation, where no ancient civilization was ever known to exist, and which has remained frozen for millions of years. So how could something so closely resembling a pyramid appear in the coldest, most remote place on Earth, far removed from any known ancient culture? That question alone opens up a deep and unresolved mystery. Many claim that this is simply a natural geological phenomenon known as a nunatak, or a mountain peak that protrudes through glacial ice. But the symmetrical form and clearly defined angles of the structure make that explanation hard to accept for many. Aerial views show nearly even triangular faces, uncannily similar to the architectural design of the Giza pyramids in Egypt. It's this geographical anomaly that has given rise to bold theories that perhaps an ancient civilization once existed in Antarctica before it was buried under layers of snow and ice. Some connect the site to legends of Atlantis or even Hyperborea. mythical civilizations believed to have vanished due to massive geological upheaval or global cataclysm. Could it be that the ice does not merely hide stone, but veils the secrets of an entire forgotten age? Even more striking is the fact that any effort to investigate the site directly is nearly impossible. Antarctica is governed by strict international treaties that prohibit unauthorized excavation or exploration. Combined with extreme climate conditions, this makes the area surrounding the pyramid a literal no-go zone, a place we can only observe from afar through computer screens. To this day, mainstream science remains cautious and silent. No official studies have been released, and no deep geological surveys have been conducted beneath the ice at the site. That silence only fuels public suspicion that perhaps this isn't just a geological misunderstanding, but rather a secret yet to be revealed. Whatever the truth may be, the pyramid-shaped structure beneath Antarctica's ice continues to be one of the world's most compelling enigmas. And the biggest question still lingers: who could have set foot here and left behind something like this? But what about you? Do you think this structure is just a natural geological coincidence? Or could it be the remnant of an ancient civilization buried beneath the ice? Is it possible that Antarctica was once warm and even inhabited? And if this really is a man-made monument, who built it, when and why, in such a remote place? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to know whether you believe in science, myth, or something entirely different. Between east and west, nestled between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea, once stood a powerful empire, the Khazars. For more than 2 centuries, from the 7th to the 10th century, Khazaria was not only a military and commercial power, but also a unique phenomenon in the religious and political history of the world. Considered a buffer between the Byzantine Empire and the Islamic world, the Khazars controlled vital trade routes, grew wealthy through taxing caravans, and exerted influence far beyond the Caucasus. But what made the Khazar Empire truly exceptional was the ruling elite's conversion to Judaism, an unprecedented move in medieval history. In a world divided between 2 dominant religions, Christianity and Islam, the Khazars chose a neutral yet risky path. They adopted neither the religion of the West nor that of the East, but instead embraced a minority faith that was persecuted on both sides. With the king's nobles and elite converting to Judaism, Khazaria became a rare case of a state aligned with no religious bloc. However, this very independence may have contributed to their obscured fate. In the 10th century, suddenly and inexplicably, the Khazars vanished from history. There were no recorded grand battles, no legendary final stand, only silence. References to them nearly disappear after the 10th century. An empire that once dominated the vast Caucasus region, blocked Islamic conquests, and served as a key Byzantine ally, left behind no clear trace of its downfall. What happened? Scholars have proposed various theories. Some suggest the Khazars were destroyed by the rising Rus' people, ancestors of modern Russians and Ukrainians who sought control over Khazar trade routes from the north. Others argue they declined due to military pressure from Turkic tribes in the east and Islamic powers from the south. Internal reform struggles and ethnic tensions within the empire's diverse population may also have played a role in its fragmentation. Yet no conclusive evidence has surfaced. No historical death has been clearly recorded. It is this mysterious disappearance that has made the Khazars one of the most legendary empires in human history. They were not just a state that chose its own path in religion and politics. They are now a great unanswered question. And that is why the Khazar Empire, though buried under the dust of time, continues to live on in the imagination and curiosity of the modern world. So in the end, what really happened to the Qasr Empire? Were they destroyed by rising powers like the Rus? Or did their independent religious choice isolate them, caught between two great civilizations? What do you think truly led to the fall of the Qasrs? Share your theory or thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear different perspectives. In early 1803, villagers along the coast of Hitachi Province, Japan, witnessed a bizarre sight, unlike anything they had ever seen, before a round object drifting ashore. It resembled no boat ever built by Japanese hands. Large in size, its shape was like a circular wooden box reinforced with metal plates, and it had transparent windows that looked like glass or crystal. Locals called it Utsuro-bune, meaning hollow ship, but it was far from empty. Inside was a mysterious woman, pale white skin, long red hair flowing to her waist, and clothing no one recognized. Most curiously, she clutched a strange metallic box that no one was allowed to touch. She spoke in a language that no one could understand and couldn't communicate with the villagers, yet her demeanor showed no fear or panic. Alongside this unfamiliar vessel and her calm presence, the entire village became witness to one of the most puzzling events in early Japanese history. The story was recorded in several Edo period documents, most notably Toen Shosetsu and Ume no Chiri. The illustrations that accompanied these records describe an object that looks strikingly like a modern UFO, a round flying saucer with windows, polished metallic materials, and unfamiliar symbols covering the interior, symbols that match no known writing system. Though this happened more than 200 years ago, the descriptions remain consistent and unusually detailed. Many theories have emerged. Some suggest the woman was a foreign princess exiled in a strange vessel. Others believe it could have been a technology far beyond its time, and that the box she held contained something critical, perhaps information, a map, or even an extraterrestrial artifact. Some modern UFO researchers go further, proposing that this was an early alien encounter, misunderstood by those who witnessed it. But what makes the Utsuro-bune incident truly eerie and compelling is that no explanation has ever fully accounted for it. No physical evidence survives. No one knows who the woman was, where she came from, or why she arrived in a vessel seemingly centuries ahead of Edo period shipbuilding. The symbols remain undeciphered, the mysterious box untouchable, and her fate after the encounter completely lost to time. Though many scholars dismiss it as folklore, the existence of multiple consistent records complete with illustrations lifts Utsuro-bune beyond a mere local legend. If it really were just a myth, why would 19th century Japanese sources depict a craft so closely resembling today's UFOs? And why take such care in recording strange, unreadable symbols? If not extraterrestrial, then what was the boat? And what could have been so important inside that metal box that the woman never let it go, even in a foreign land? What do you think about Utsuro-bune? Could this be the earliest alien encounter in Japanese history, or just an ancient tale exaggerated over time? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. The Shroud of Turin is one of the most mysterious religious and archaeological relics ever known. It is a linen cloth approximately 4.4 meters long and 1.1 meters wide, bearing a faint image of a man lying in a posture believed to resemble a crucified victim. The marks on the cloth, from wounds on the hands, feet, and side to bloodstains on the head, strangely match descriptions in the Bible of Jesus Christ's Passion. But what makes the shroud truly extraordinary lies in the image itself, an image that modern science has yet to explain. First of all, the image on the shroud is not a painting, nor is it a typical print. Researchers have applied every possible technology, from electron microscopes to X-rays and infrared analysis, to look for traces of paint dye or any known coloring agent. The result? Nothing. The image was not made with any known pigment or coloring substance. It exists only on the ultra-thin surface layer of the fibers, less than 200 nanometers deep, and does not penetrate below. This has led many scientists to describe it as a micro-burn phenomenon, something like ancient photography without a camera. Even more astonishingly, the image carries three-dimensional information, something that would be impossible if it were merely a stain or a drawing. When the data was processed through NASA's VP-8 image analyzer, the image appeared as a 3D topographic map, meaning the brightness and darkness on the cloth actually correspond to the distance between the body and the fabric. No painting or photo behaves like this. It's compelling evidence that the image was not produced by medieval art, but rather may be the physical imprint of a real human body that once lay within the shroud, created in a way no one has been able to replicate. Despite hundreds of theories, from medieval forgery to radiation-induced photochemical reactions, no one has ever recreated an image with the same microscopic details and structure as the shroud. Combined with findings of real human blood of type AB, containing high levels of bilirubin, a sign of extreme trauma and features consistent with Roman-era crucifixion, the shroud remains a profound enigma for both science and theology. Could this truly be a first-century relic, a physical trace of resurrection? Or is it an optical record, far ahead of its time, that we still don't fully understand? That question remains unanswered to this day. And perhaps that is why the Shroud of Turin continues to fascinate, divide, and inspire millions for over 600 years. Do you believe the image on the Shroud of Turin is truly the imprint of Jesus Christ, or just an unexplained phenomenon? Why? In your opinion, what does the fact that modern science still can't replicate this image suggest? Share your thoughts in the comments. In modern history, there have been many strange disappearances, but few are as chilling as the legend of Hver Verde, a village said to have completely vanished from the map of Brazil in 1923. What's most unsettling is not just the disappearance itself, but how the entire village seemed to be swallowed in utter silence, leaving no clue, no trace, as if its people had never existed. According to stories passed down over time, Hver Verde was a small village deep within Brazil's interior, home to about 600 residents. One day, it's said that travelers or soldiers arrived at the village, only to find an eerily abandoned scene. Doors were left wide open, food still sitting half-eaten on the tables, fireplaces were still smoldering, yet not a single person was anywhere to be found. The school was empty, the church deserted, the market abandoned. There were no signs of a mass exodus, no bloodshed, no struggle, and not a single body. The most chilling detail comes from a report that a gun was found abandoned near the school, as if someone had either tried to flee or braced for a threat. But what were they fleeing from? What danger was coming? There was no answer. The silence was complete, as if the entire village had been pulled out of reality in a single moment. There was no indication of an organized departure the villagers left behind, their belongings, food, and personal items, something that makes no sense if they had intentionally evacuated. Even stranger, the name Hver Verde does not appear in any official Brazilian records from that time. Some speculate the government may have covered it up. Others think it was simply a myth, but no explanation has ever fully accounted for such a clean, total disappearance. From there, countless theories have been proposed, ranging from alien abduction to a spontaneous tear in the fabric of space-time, to the idea that the villagers had unknowingly stepped into another dimension and never came back. All of it remains speculation, because the only evidence left behind is the eerie emptiness itself. Today, Hver Verde, if it ever truly existed, remains an unsolved mystery. It might be nothing more than folklore, a tale exaggerated over time. But to many, the idea that 600 people could disappear without a trace is one of the most chilling enigmas of the 20th century. A reminder that no matter how advanced our technology becomes, there are still dark corners of the world and history that we may never understand. What do you think really happened to the village of Hver Verde? A mass disappearance caused by supernatural forces, a secret evacuation covered up, or just an urban legend that never truly happened? Share your thoughts in the comments. For over 3 centuries, the identity of the mysterious man in the Iron Mask has haunted the history of France, like a shadowed whisper behind the grandeur of Versailles. This unnamed prisoner, whose face was forever hidden behind a velvet mask, and later an iron one, was kept in the deepest secrecy under the strictest surveillance and across the most secure prisons of the French kingdom. His life was erased, his name forbidden to be spoken, and yet his existence became one of the greatest enigmas of European history. What could be so dangerous about a single man that he had to be imprisoned for life without trial and silenced with such brutal thoroughness? The answer, many believe, lies not in what he did, but in who he was. According to one of the most enduring and shocking theories, the man in the Iron Mask may have been the identical twin brother of King Louis XIV. Born in secret and hidden away since infancy, this twin would have posed a direct threat to the legitimacy of the crown. In the rigid monarchical structure of 17th century France, 2 princes born to the queen meant one could always be used to challenge the other. If this second child had ever been revealed, France could have been plunged into civil war rival factions, choosing sides uncertain who the true king was. The idea of a royal twin was considered so dangerous that some believe Cardinal Mazarin and Queen Anne of Austria orchestrated his disappearance. While Louis XIV was raised to rule, his brother was erased from existence, condemned to live his life in silence and shadows. But his bloodline, the sacred blood of the Bourbons, meant he couldn't simply be killed. Instead, he was hidden, imprisoned, forgotten, but never truly erased. The prisoner was transferred between fortified locations like Pinerolo exiles and finally the Bastille. All guards and officials were sworn to absolute secrecy. They were forbidden to speak with him. He was given only one jailer throughout much of his life, a man named Benigne d'Auvergne de Saint-Marc, who watched over him with fanatical loyalty. No one was allowed to look upon his face. Some accounts even claimed his mask was permanently affixed, though most historians believe it could be removed, yet never was. This chilling silence wasn't due to what the man had done, but rather the truth his face might reveal. If even a single nobleman or enemy of the king had learned of his identity, it could have unleashed a catastrophic crisis of succession. A hidden heir, a rival monarch, a threat buried alive. The idea is not merely a fantasy. Even the great Enlightenment philosopher Voltaire, imprisoned in the Bastille decades later, claimed to have learned that the man behind the mask was the elder brother of Louis XIV. The theory later inspired Alexandre Dumas, who gave the tale dramatic life in his famous novel The Man in the Iron Mask, portraying the masked prisoner as the true king, wrongfully hidden to preserve a lie. To this day, no official record has ever confirmed who the man was. Some point to a valet named Eustache Dauger. Others whisper of a disgraced noble or political traitor. But the silence of history is most deafening when it hides a royal truth, one too dangerous to reveal, yet too powerful to destroy. The man in the iron mask may have been nothing more than a ghost, a political prisoner, or a symbol, or he may have been a king denied his crown. And that terrifying possibility is what makes this mystery endure. What do you think about the theory that the man in the iron mask was the twin brother of King Louis XIV? If that were true, what do you think drove the royal family to hide it so ruthlessly? Could it be possible that France once had a second king that no one was ever allowed to know about? Share your thoughts in the comments. The stone that records Earth's heartbeat is far from an ordinary rock. It lies at the center of a geological phenomenon that has defied scientific explanation for decades, a mystery that continues to puzzle researchers around the world. It all began with strange seismic vibrations detected by geophysicists studying minor oscillations deep within the Earth. Among thousands of data points, they identified something remarkable: a consistent rhythmic pulse occurring every 26 seconds, repeating like clockwork. This signal remained unaffected by weather, seasonal changes, or even clear geological events like earthquakes or volcanic eruptions. Even more fascinating, a particular stone located near the coast of West Africa, close to the Gulf of Guinea, appeared to receive and amplify this frequency perfectly, as if it were listening to or even recording the heartbeat of our planet. This 26-second frequency doesn't originate from the surface. After years of analysis using seismic wave technology, scientists now believe that the source likely lies deep within the Earth, perhaps near the boundary between the mantle and the outer core. If true, this would make the signal a reflection of deep geodynamic activity far beyond anything humans have directly accessed. It's not caused by ocean waves, atmospheric winds, or man-made activity. The signal persists even in areas of complete environmental stillness. That's what makes this rock so extraordinary. It doesn't merely detect the signal, it amplifies and preserves this heartbeat over decades. Although seismic stations around the world have recorded the same frequency, this stone produces the clearest and most stable version of the signal, like a living record of something Earth is quietly trying to say. What makes this phenomenon truly haunting isn't just the frequency itself, but the fact that we still have no clear explanation for where it comes from. Over the last 50 years, scientists have proposed countless theories: ocean resonance, low-frequency wave reflections, even motion from Earth's core. But none of these ideas hold up under scrutiny. Every time a theory seems promising, new data emerges to challenge it, as if Earth is keeping a secret too deep for us to reach. This stone may just be a small gateway cracked open to hint at what lies beneath. Today, people still call it the Earth's heartbeat. But where does this rhythm truly come from? Is it a sign of some living process inside the planet, or simply a physical anomaly we've yet to correctly define? It's this very lack of explanation that elevates the stone beyond ordinary science, transforming it into an open question for anyone curious about Earth itself. What's really happening beneath our feet? And how much do we truly know about the world we live on? What do you think is really causing this 26-second heartbeat? Is it deep geological activity within the Earth, or some form of energy humanity has never discovered? Do you believe modern science is advanced enough to uncover the deepest secrets hidden inside our planet? Or are there still forces far beyond our understanding lurking right beneath our feet? Share your thoughts in the comments. During an excavation at the ancient city of Taposiris, Magna, located near Alexandria, Egypt, archaeologists uncovered one of the strangest and most mysterious relics ever found a human skeleton with a solid gold tongue placed directly inside its mouth. Unlike typical burial items, this tongue was not a decorative ornament or symbolic amulet, but positioned precisely where the real tongue would have been, as if to replace the original one that had decayed over time. This discovery immediately shocked the archaeological community and raised a host of questions that remain unanswered. According to early theories, the golden tongue may have been part of a special funerary ritual designed to allow the deceased to speak in the afterlife. In ancient Egyptian culture, this wasn't a far-fetched idea. Osiris, the god of the dead, was believed to judge the souls of the departed based on their own testimonies, so perhaps replacing the real tongue with a golden one was meant to ensure the spirit could present itself clearly and even more convincingly with a precious tongue before the divine judge. However, the deeper researchers dug into this mystery, the clearer it became that this wasn't an isolated case. After the first skeleton was found, more tombs emerged containing the same golden tongue feature. This led to the possibility that this had once been an actual funerary practice specific to a certain group of people during the later periods of ancient Egypt, especially under the influence of Greco-Roman culture. But who were these people? Priests, nobles, devout followers of a particular religion? No one knows for sure. And that's exactly what makes this discovery so hauntingly captivating. We are facing an archaeological mystery that has yet to be solved. Who was the person buried in that tomb? What role did they play in ancient society? Why were only a select few given golden tongues? Was it a symbol of honor or a sign of something darker, like punishment or magical sealing? Some even theorize that the golden tongue wasn't meant for communication at all, but to seal the mouth permanently, to silence secrets that must never be revealed, not even in death. What if this person knew something too dangerous? Adding to the intrigue is the location, Taposiris Magna, a city closely linked to many theories about the lost tomb of Queen Cleopatra. Could these individuals have been part of a secret religion or played key roles in royal burial ceremonies? Some researchers go even further. If this is just the tip of the iceberg, how many other mystical rituals have been buried forever in the sands of Egypt? To this day, modern science has not provided any definitive answers. No texts describe a ritual involving golden tongues. No surviving documents clearly explain their purpose. All we are left with are silent skeletons, each holding a gleaming golden tongue in the darkness of death. A silent message with heavy meaning, one that challenges both science and human imagination. And perhaps it is that very silence that makes the skeleton with the golden tongue one of the most haunting and irresistible enigmas of ancient Egyptian civilization. So, what do you think about the golden tongue? Could it have been a sacred ritual allowing the dead to speak in the afterlife? Or was it a permanent silencing meant to conceal a secret no one was ever meant to know? And do you believe this is just a small piece of a much larger set of ancient rituals that humanity has yet to uncover? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your theory about this strange skeleton. In the quiet state of Pennsylvania, USA, there once stood a small town called Centralia. No one could have imagined that this place would become the real-life setting of a nightmare, a city burning from beneath the ground for over half a century, and it still hasn't stopped. It all began in 1962 with what seemed like a harmless act, burning trash. Town workers ignited a fire in a deep pit near an abandoned landfill, unaware that just beneath it lay a vast seam of anthracite coal, an extremely flammable type of coal that had been resting silently underground for millions of years. The fire spread downward into the coal, and from that moment on, an underground blaze began sweeping through the mine network, unstoppable and unseen. From the surface, people began noticing white smoke rising from cracks in the earth, carrying a scorched smell and toxic gases. The highway buckled and split. The ground sagged and caved in. Temperatures just beneath the surface reached up to 400 degrees, 752 degree. The air became filled with carbon monoxide, forcing nearly the entire population to evacuate. From over 1,000 residents, Centralia now has only a handful of holdouts, living among empty foundations and silent streets. The government eventually revoked the town's zip code, essentially erasing Centralia from the official map. But what makes Centralia one of the most chilling geological mysteries in modern history isn't just the destruction above ground. It's the unanswered question that has haunted scientists for more than 60 years. Why has the fire spread so aggressively? Why can't it be extinguished, even with drilling sand, mud water, and advanced technology? Geologists have spent decades mapping the coal mine network beneath Centralia, but what they found only deepened the puzzle. The fire pathways didn't follow normal rules of underground spread. Some isolated sections mysteriously ignited on their own. Many theories have been proposed. Maybe the old mine shafts are connected in a maze-like structure, or perhaps there are natural ventilation tunnels underground that keep feeding the fire with oxygen. Some even wonder, could there be a deeper cause still undiscovered, hidden within the region's unique geology? To this day, Centralia is still burning. A ghost town with no residents and no address, but one that remains alive as a grim reminder of nature's brutal power and mankind's small mistake. Beneath the seemingly quiet soil lies a smoldering red heart, a lingering question that forces even scientists to admit there are mysteries of the earth that we are still not ready to understand. What do you think is really happening beneath the ground in Centralia? Is it just a geological accident? Or is there something science hasn't uncovered yet? Do you believe a fire can smolder for an entire century and still not be extinguished? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective on this city that burns from below. And if you know of any other strange places like Centralia, don't hesitate to tell us. The Sakara Lion is one of the most enigmatic artifacts ever discovered in the ancient necropolis of Sakara, Egypt. Unlike familiar statues depicting gods, pharaohs, or mythical creatures in the refined Kemet style, this lion sculpture has an extremely unusual shape. Its head is oversized, the body is short and rough, and the legs are disproportionately large. Details that left many archaeologists puzzled upon first encountering it. The carving style doesn't match any recognized artistic period across the 3 millennia of known Egyptian history. However, what makes the Sakara Lion truly intriguing isn't just its appearance. The statue shows patterns of erosion, unlike the usual wind and sand wear commonly seen in Egypt. Instead, vertical striations and abnormal surface degradation on the head and back resemble water erosion, similar to what Dr. Robert Schoch identified on the Great Sphinx of Giza. This raises a bold hypothesis: could the Sakara Lion have existed during a period when this region experienced heavy rainfall or even a cataclysmic flood? Interestingly, the statue wasn't found inside a temple or tomb, nor was it associated with any ceremonial structure. It was unearthed under unusual conditions, as if it had been buried by a dramatic geological event. No accompanying inscriptions, carvings, or writings were found to help determine its age or cultural context. And this is precisely what makes it most controversial. No one can say for certain where the Sakara Lion came from, who made it, or when it was created. Despite undergoing several rounds of scientific analysis, including radiocarbon dating and comparative studies with other artifacts, researchers still cannot reach a consensus. Some propose it originated during the pre-Nile period, which would make it older than the earliest known pharaoh dynasties. Others suggest it might be a surviving remnant of a prehistoric civilization, possibly one erased by a massive flood, like those described in Sumerian myth, the Bible, or the Epic of Gilgamesh. And while it's tempting to attach inspiring theories about lost civilizations to this statue, the uncomfortable truth remains: no scholar has dared to make a definitive claim. Any solid conclusion would require equally solid evidence, something we currently do not have. All that remains is a weathered stone sculpture lying silently in Egypt's dust, bearing strange marks and a completely uncertain origin. It is this very ambiguity that makes the Sakara Lion one of the strongest symbols of a timeless question. Do we really know everything about Earth's past? Perhaps it's just another misunderstood artifact, or perhaps it's one of the few surviving pieces of a world that vanished beneath the sea. As long as unanswered mysteries remain scattered across our planet, relics like the Sakara Lion serve as powerful reminders that history isn't only written in text, but in silent, unsolved questions carved in stone. What do you think about the Sakara Lion? Is it simply a misunderstood artifact worn down by time and natural erosion? Or could it be living proof of a civilization older than ancient Egypt, one that was wiped out by a legendary great flood? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to read your insights, theories, and perspectives. In the summer of 1577, in the quiet English city of Oxford, a seemingly ordinary trial suddenly turned into a horrifying disaster, one of the most chilling events in the history of British justice. The event would later be known as the Black Assize of Oxford, not just because of the grief it left behind, but because of the mysterious mass deaths that to this day remain unexplained. It all began with a major trial held at Oxford Castle, where judges, lawyers, local officials, and a large number of citizens gathered to participate in or observe the proceedings. It was a highly important legal event that many had anticipated. However, just days after the trial concluded, the city of Oxford was thrown into a state of extreme panic. People began falling ill and dying en masse suddenly and horrifyingly. Most terrifying of all those who died were all individuals present in the courtroom, from high-ranking officials to common folk, while the prisoners, those who were being tried, were left completely unharmed. According to historical records, over 300 people died in a very short span of time. The victims exhibited a shared set of symptoms: high fever difficulty, breathing darkened skin, and death within hours or days. There were no clear signs of a known infectious disease like the plague or smallpox. There were no traces of poisoning through food or water, nor did anyone find evidence of any specific toxic substance. This left the authorities of the time and even modern scientists completely baffled. What made the incident even more disturbing was that the deaths were limited to those physically present in the courtroom, especially within the enclosed space of the trial chamber. People in other parts of Oxford were entirely unaffected. Modern scholars have proposed several theories. It may have been an outbreak of anaerobic bacteria such as anthrax, originating from the unhygienic sewer system beneath the courtroom. Others suggest that toxic gases from waste or decaying animals may have built up in the poorly ventilated space, then spread rapidly as the crowded courtroom reached capacity. Yet no one has been able to produce solid evidence to confirm any of these theories. From that void of certainty emerged darker tales, claims that the prisoners, some accused of witchcraft, had cursed the court, or theories of a deliberate act of medieval bioweapon revenge. The name Black Assize carries many layers of meaning. In Old English legal tradition, assize referred to traveling royal courts, but the word black, the color of mourning and death, was added to reflect the dark, tragic, and horrifying nature of the event. It remains a grim reminder of the limits of medical and scientific understanding at the time, and how easily humans can fall victim to forces natural or man-made beyond their control. Today, centuries later, the Black Assize of Oxford still stands as one of the most mysterious mass death events in British history. A curse, an unnamed disease, or a mystery that will forever go unsolved. Perhaps the silence of the 300 victims in that courtroom is the most chilling answer of all. What do you think really happened at the Black Assize of Oxford? Was it a natural disease outbreak, a sophisticated poisoning, or some mysterious form of energy that humans have yet to understand? Share your perspective and theory in the comments below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. The Children's Crusade, a crusade led by children, stands as one of the most bizarre, emotional, and heartbreaking chapters of the Middle Ages. Unlike traditional crusades organized by kings, popes, or professional armies, this journey was born from the pure faith of children, teenagers, and poor peasants across Europe. They believed that through their innocence and sinless nature, they could travel to the Holy Land of Jerusalem and liberate it from Muslim control, not by sword and shield, but through belief alone. In the year 1212, two central figures emerged, Stephen from France and Nicholas from Germany. Stephen, a young shepherd, claimed that Jesus had appeared to him and commanded him to lead a children's crusade. Thousands of French children followed him, driven by a hope for miracles. Around the same time, Nicholas in Germany gathered a group of thousands who marched across the Alps into Italy, hoping to find a path to Jerusalem. These children, many only 10 to 12 years old, left behind their families and homes to embark on a grueling journey spanning hundreds of kilometers. They walked through mountains and rivers, enduring cold, hunger, and exhaustion. Many perished along the way from illness, starvation, or fatigue. For those who managed to reach the Mediterranean coast, one final hope remained, that holy ships would carry them to the Promised Land. But that was precisely where their purest faith met the cruelest betrayal. According to many accounts, the ships that promised to transport them to Jerusalem were in truth slave ships. The children were lured on board, and instead of sailing to the Holy Land, many were taken to slave markets in North Africa. Innocent children became commodities separated from one another, and vanished into the merciless hands of slave traders. It is estimated that thousands never returned home, leaving behind only the silent cries of grieving families and the shock of a generation. This tragic ending raises painful ethical questions about the role of faith and has become a sorrowful symbol of innocence exploited. It is a timeless reminder that faith, when not tempered with wisdom, can become a deadly trap, one capable of destroying an entire generation. To this day, historians still debate the accuracy of certain details. Were most participants truly children, or were they mostly poor peasants? Yet, regardless of the truth, the Children's Crusade remains a deeply emotional tragedy in human history, where the purity of youth was swept away by the dark forces of naivety, greed, and blind belief. What do you think about the Children's Crusade? Was it a touching symbol of pure faith, or a heartbreaking example of innocence being exploited? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd really love to hear your perspective. On a summer day in July 1518, in the city of Strasbourg, Then part of the Holy Roman Empire, now Eastern France, a woman named Frau Trophäa suddenly stepped into the street and began dancing. There was no music, no clear reason. She danced non-stop for hours with no rhythm and completely out of control. People thought it was just a strange act, perhaps a sudden fit of madness. But within days, dozens of others began dancing just like her, in the streets, in the markets, even in churches, and none of them could stop. By the end of the month, more than 400 people were caught up in what became known as a dancing plague, a phenomenon never before seen in recorded history. Strangely, this was no festival. The people affected were not joyful, not joking. They were in pain, exhausted, begging to stop. But their bodies kept moving. Some danced for days on end, collapsing from strokes, heart failure, or severe dehydration. Many of them died, and according to historical records, these deaths occurred daily. The death toll is estimated to have reached into the hundreds within just a few weeks. In an attempt to control the outbreak, the city authorities of Strasbourg made a shocking decision. They encouraged people to dance even more, hoping that physical exhaustion would release the illness from their bodies. They built wooden stages, hired musicians, and held public dancing sessions. But this only made things worse. More people were drawn into the frenzy, and more people died. To this day, the most haunting aspect of the event is this: we still don't know what really happened. There is no single explanation that fully accounts for the phenomenon. Some scholars believe it was caused by ergot poisoning, a fungus that grows on rye and produces hallucinogenic compounds similar to LSD. But if that were the case, why did people not just hallucinate? Why did they dance in such an organized, uncontrollable, and ultimately fatal way? Others suggest it was a form of mass hysteria, a psychological contagion that can spread through stressed communities. The 16th century was a time of famine, disease, and religious oppression. It's possible that hundreds of minds tried to escape reality through a radical bodily reaction. There's also a theory linking the event to superstitious belief that dancing was a way to ward off sin or appease divine powers, especially Saint Vitus, the patron saint of neurological disorders. But if it were a ritual, why did it become uncontrollable? And if it was spiritual, why did so many people die in agony? No cause has ever been confirmed, and that makes the dancing plague of 1518 one of the greatest medical and social mysteries in human history. It wasn't just a bizarre event. It was a mirror reflecting the fragility of the human psyche in times of unrest, when fear, belief, and desperation fuse into a psychic virus that spreads invisibly, seizing both mind and body. Even today, psychologists, historians, and neuroscientists continue to study it, but no one can say with certainty what really occurred. Perhaps in every era, there are invisible plagues, not of bacteria or viruses, but born of human fear and emotion. And the scariest part is, we are not immune. What do you think really caused hundreds of people to dance themselves to death, unable to stop? Was it a medical condition, superstition, or a psychological force that science still doesn't fully understand? Share your thoughts, theories, or feelings in the comments below. We'd love to know what you think about the most mysterious dancing plague in history. Perhaps no one embodied the spirit of adventure in the 20th century more clearly than Colonel Percy Fawcett, a British explorer, army officer, and veteran member of the Royal Geographical Society. He once mapped uncharted regions of South America, trekking through jungles and rivers with steely resolve and an unwavering belief that the modern world had yet to uncover many of nature's greatest wonders. But what turned Fawcett into a legend was his final journey, a daring expedition into the Amazon jungle in 1925 from which he vanished without a trace. Nearly a century later, the world still doesn't know what truly happened. Fawcett believed that deep within the Amazon lay the remains of an ancient civilization he called the City of Z, a mighty metropolis that had once been a center of culture and technology swallowed by time and jungle. Unlike most scientists of his era, he did not believe that Amazonian natives were mere scattered tribes. He was convinced they were the descendants of a glorious empire, builders of cities and temples with complex societies whose traces were still hidden in the vast forest. In April 1925, Fawcett departed from Cuiabá, Brazil, accompanied by his son, Jack Fawcett, close friend Raleigh Ramel, and just a few porters. He chose to keep the group small to avoid provoking hostility from local tribes. In his final letter, he wrote that the team was heading toward a place he ominously referred to as Dead Horse Camp, a name that hinted at danger and foreboding. After that, they disappeared completely. There was no further contact. No one ever saw them again. No trace, no bodies, no explanation. This made the disappearance of Percy Fawcett one of the greatest mysteries in the history of exploration. Dozens of search parties were sent after him, but many of those searchers never returned either. It's estimated that over 100 people died trying to discover Fawcett's fate. Numerous theories have been proposed. Was he killed by hostile tribes? Did he die of disease or starvation? Or in a more romantic and mysterious theory, did he actually find the City of Z and choose to live out his days hidden within a lost civilization? Whatever the truth, Fawcett's body was never found, and the secret of his fateful expedition remains buried deep in the green heart of the jungle. To this day, the disappearance of Percy Fawcett is more than just a historical tale. It stands as a symbol of boldness, the thirst for discovery, and the limits of human understanding in the face of nature's vast unknowns. Question for you, the viewer watching this video: what do you think really happened to Percy Fawcett and his expedition in 1925? Did they get lost and perish deep in the jungle? Were they killed by local tribes? Or did they actually find the lost City of Z and choose never to return? Which theory do you lean toward the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Pompeii, the ancient Roman city destroyed by the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD, has captivated archaeologists and visitors alike with its remarkably preserved ruins. Among these, a statue stands out for its unusual feature: it sweats every year. Known as the sweating statue of Pompeii, this phenomenon has puzzled scientists for centuries. But why does it sweat? Is it a natural process, a chemical reaction, or something else? Let's explore this mystery, particularly focusing on the scientific explanations that continue to intrigue experts. What do you think about the sweating phenomenon of the statue in Pompeii? Is it a natural process, a chemical reaction, or is there another reason we haven't understood yet? Share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. The statue is believed to be one of many remnants of Pompeii preserved in ash after the eruption. Rediscovered in the 18th century, Pompeii amazed archaeologists with its extraordinary preservation. Houses, frescoes, and even human remains were frozen in time. Among these relics was the statue, which has sparked theories about its sweating behavior. Made from volcanic rock, the statue exudes moisture every year, typically during the warmer months, raising numerous questions. This sweating phenomenon has fascinated researchers for centuries. While the statue is an artistic representation of a human figure or deity, what makes it most famous today is its curious behavior. The statue's yearly sweating, linked to changes in temperature and humidity, continues to intrigue and perplex scientists. The statue's most remarkable feature is its ability to sweat under specific conditions, mainly when temperatures rise and humidity increases. When the environmental conditions change, moisture appears to accumulate on its surface, creating the appearance of sweating. But how is this possible? This phenomenon is likely connected to the statue's material properties and environmental conditions. While it might seem supernatural, scientific research provides a more grounded explanation, though it's still not fully understood. The primary enigma of the statue is the cause of its sweating. Over time, various scientific hypotheses have been proposed, each attempting to explain the phenomenon. One leading theory is that the statue is made from volcanic rock, a material known for its porous nature. Volcanic stones, like those found in Pompeii, have tiny pores that can trap moisture from the air. When humidity levels rise, the statue absorbs water through these pores. As temperatures fluctuate, the moisture trapped in the stone is gradually released, giving the appearance of sweating. This theory is supported by the fact that many Pompeii buildings and statues were made from volcanic rock. The absorption and release of moisture can naturally occur when the statue is exposed to varying environmental conditions. Thus, the sweating could simply be a consequence of the stone's interaction with humidity and temperature changes. Another hypothesis suggests that chemical reactions within the stone could contribute to the sweating phenomenon. Some researchers propose that the minerals in the volcanic rock might react with moisture in the air, causing a chemical reaction that results in the formation of a thin film of moisture on the statue's surface, giving it the appearance of sweating. This theory is particularly intriguing because it implies that the statue's material may still be undergoing chemical processes after more than 2,000 years. If chemical reactions are still happening, it suggests that the statue has unique properties, allowing it to continue interacting with its environment in unexpected ways. Additionally, the environment in which the statue is situated plays a role. Before its destruction, Pompeii had a humid climate with nearby water sources like rivers and marshes. The material of the statue might have been designed to interact with these specific environmental conditions, which could explain its sweating behavior when exposed to modern atmospheric conditions, such as changes in humidity and temperature. The preservation of Pompeii offers a unique opportunity for researchers to study how ancient materials respond to modern environmental factors. This ongoing interaction may help uncover further secrets about ancient Roman technology, craftsmanship, and the natural world. The preservation of Pompeii is key to understanding the statue's behavior. Buried in volcanic ash, the statue has remained almost perfectly intact, allowing scientists to study it in its original state. This remarkable preservation means that moisture can remain trapped within the statue's porous stone, interacting with the surrounding environment in ways that would not have been possible if the statue had deteriorated over time. This preservation has played a crucial role in maintaining the sweating effect. If the statue had been exposed to the elements or suffered damage, the moisture retention and release would not have occurred in the same way. This level of preservation offers valuable insights into how ancient materials interact with their environment over long periods. Despite various scientific explanations, the sweating statue remains an unresolved mystery. The interaction between the statue's porous volcanic stone, changing environmental conditions, and possible chemical reactions within the stone creates a complex web of factors that has yet to be fully understood. Nevertheless, the annual appearance of moisture on the statue continues to captivate both researchers and the public, adding to the allure of Pompeii as a site filled with ancient mysteries waiting to be unraveled. The sweating statue of Pompeii is more than just an oddity. It symbolizes the enduring mysteries of ancient history. It reminds us that despite technological advances, some phenomena from the past continue to defy explanation and spark curiosity. As science progresses, the statue serves as a reminder of the complexities of the natural world and the ancient materials that shape our understanding of the past. Pompeii, with its preserved wonders, continues to challenge our knowledge of ancient civilizations. The sweating statue is just one of many secrets that remain hidden beneath the surface, awaiting discovery. Through the study of ancient stone or other timeless mysteries, the exploration of Pompeii will continue to inspire future generations of researchers and history enthusiasts alike. More than 2,000 years have passed, yet a 2,000-year-old mummy from China still leaves the world in awe and defies explanation. What makes this mummy so different? Unlike any other mummy discovered before, this one is striking with its unusual facial expression. Its mouth is open wide, as if the person is screaming in agony. This discovery has not only stirred excitement in the field of archaeology, but also sparked countless questions about the death burial rituals and the mysteries behind the unexplained screaming expression. Could this person have died under violent circumstances, or was there some spiritual reason behind it? The mystery remains unsolved, but it is certain that it will continue to attract attention and be explored for centuries to come. So what do you think about the screaming expression of this mummy? Could it be a sign of a violent death, a special spiritual ritual, or simply the result of the mummification process? Feel free to share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. The screaming mummy was discovered in the Tarim Basin, a desolate desert region located in the Uyghur Autonomous Region of Xinjiang, China. This area is well known for its significant archaeological finds, including numerous artifacts and tombs from ancient civilizations that once thrived in the region. This particular mummy dates back around 2,000 years during the Han Dynasty, a crucial period in the development of ancient China. It is one of the most remarkably well-preserved mummies, thanks to the dry and unique climate of the Tarim Basin. A striking feature that makes this mummy stand out is its facial expression. While most other ancient mummies exhibit neutral or even calm expressions, this mummy's mouth is wide open, as if the person is screaming or crying out in pain. This has made the mummy a clear anomaly, distinguishing it from all the other mummies discovered so far. What makes the screaming mummy of ancient China such a remarkable discovery is its excellent state of preservation. The arid climate of the Tarim Basin has helped preserve the mummy's body in an almost perfect condition. The skin, hair, and even the clothing of the deceased are still intact, allowing researchers a detailed look into how ancient people lived, ate, and even equipped themselves for daily life. These details offer a partial glimpse into the life of the ancient people, also showing the advanced mummification techniques of their civilization. However, the perfect preservation is not the only factor that makes this mummy a mystery. The expression of intense pain on its face, with the mouth agape, has caught much attention and raised numerous questions regarding the cause of death of this individual. The screaming expression of the mummy has become one of the most crucial elements in attempting to decode and understand the cause of death of this individual. Numerous theories have been proposed to explain why the mummy has such an expression. Here are some of the most common hypotheses. One of the most popular theories among researchers is that this individual might have died a violent or traumatic death, leading to the agonizing expression on their face. In such cases, the facial muscles and mouth can contract, particularly in situations of extreme stress or pain. A violent death, such as being attacked or tortured, might explain why the individual's mouth is open as though screaming. However, This theory has not been conclusively proven, and some scholars argue that the contraction of facial muscles during mummification may have caused this expression. As such, determining the exact cause of death remains an open question that has yet to be answered definitively. Another theory suggests that the expression could be tied to ancient burial rituals of the civilization the person belonged to. In many ancient cultures, death was not merely the end of life, but also a transition to another world. It's possible that this individual was mummified in a special ritual, and the open mouth could have been part of a funeral practice symbolizing preparation for the journey to the afterlife. Some studies also suggest that the expression could have been a way to display courage and readiness to face death bravely. These rituals might have included calling the spirit or opening the mouth so the deceased could say their farewells or express their will to their ancestors. A theory that is supported by many archaeologists is that the screaming expression may be the result of the mummification process itself. During mummification, the body loses moisture, and the preservation process alters the body's structure. The mouth may have opened due to the contraction of the facial muscles or changes occurring during the mummification, leading to the expression we see today. While this is a plausible theory, there is no concrete evidence to confirm that facial muscle contraction is the sole cause of this expression. As a result, researchers continue to discuss this possibility and are looking for further data from other mummies to reach a more definitive conclusion. Finally, another interesting theory proposes that this screaming expression may reflect part of the culture and worldview of the ancient civilization the person belonged to. In many ancient cultures, expressing emotions through facial expressions was considered highly significant and could convey power, protection, or even dominance in the face of difficult conditions. This expression could have had spiritual or religious significance in the worldview of this ancient civilization, symbolizing strength and resilience. The screaming mummy of ancient China is a remarkable and mysterious discovery. The facial expression of the individual, with their mouth wide open as if screaming in pain, has sparked curiosity and exploration within research circles. Although many theories exist regarding the cause of this expression, ranging from violent death, funeral rites, to the effects of the mummification process, the mystery remains unsolved. This makes the mummy one of the most intriguing archaeological finds, expanding our understanding of the life and death of the people who lived in the Turin Basin over 2,000 years ago. Imagine walking down a quiet, moonlit road, only to encounter a figure who looks like any other person until you look closer and realize they have no face. The chilling specter of the Nopperabo, the no-face ghosts, has haunted the folklore of Edo, Japan for centuries. With their smooth, featureless faces, these eerie beings blur the line between the familiar and the utterly unnatural. Their haunting presence in stories and art from the Edo period, 1603–1868, reveals much about the fears and mysteries of the time. But it's not just their terrifying appearance that captivates us, it's the deep symbolic significance they carry within Japanese mythology, drawing us into a world where the supernatural collides with the human psyche. What do you think the Nopperabo represent in Japanese folklore? Is it simply the fear of the unknown, or is there a deeper meaning behind their facelessness? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Nopperabo, also known as faceless ghosts, are typically depicted as human-like beings, dressed in ordinary clothes but with no faces. The absence of human features on their faces creates an eerie sensation, evoking a fear of the unknown. These creatures originate from ancient Japanese folklore and became prominent during the Edo period, particularly through oral stories and ukiyo-e woodblock prints. In these tales, Noperabo often appear in unexpected situations, usually confronting travelers. At first they appear as normal people, indistinguishable from any other passerby. However, when the person engages or looks closer, they discover that these figures have a smooth, featureless face, which causes shock and fear. This not only creates confusion about encountering something strange, but also evokes a sense of the absence of identity and a world that cannot be explained, where the laws of nature are overturned. The sudden shift in perception makes Noperabo a powerful symbol of uncontrollable forces in the supernatural realm. The Noperabo are symbolic of the supernatural, a theme deeply embedded in Edo-era storytelling. At a time of significant social and cultural change in Japan, the faceless people represented unsettling forces and the fragility of human identity. Their facelessness often symbolizes identity loss and anonymity. In a society where rigid social roles were emphasized, these beings may represent the fear of losing one's individuality in the face of societal pressures. The blank face implies a void, highlighting the loss of one's sense of self, a central theme in many Edo period ghost stories. These spirits also embody isolation and alienation. The absence of facial features symbolizes the lack of empathy or understanding, making the faceless figures feel otherworldly and disconnected from human society. The psychological discomfort they cause is not just from their appearance, but from their lack of expression, often interpreted as a form of emotional detachment. The Noperabo stories resonate because they tap into universal fears about the unknown and the unfamiliar. These spirits evoke the uncanny valley, where human-like figures seem almost real, but something is distinctly wrong, creating unease. During the Edo period, society's emphasis on conformity made the faceless figures a metaphor for the disruption of order. By blurring the boundaries between human and supernatural, the Noperabo symbolized the dangers of losing control, emphasizing a fear of the unknown. The Noperabo were not only part of oral traditions, but also found their way into Edo-era ukiyo-e prints. These prints depicted supernatural beings in vivid detail, with faceless figures, often shown in moonlit streets or mysterious rural landscapes. These images played a significant role in shaping the public perception of Noperabo, making them both terrifying and artistically compelling. The blankness of the face in these artworks became a striking reminder of the unpredictable forces of the supernatural world. The legend of the Noperabo continues to captivate modern audiences, appearing in manga, anime, and horror films. These faceless figures remain symbolic of identity loss and alienation, often reimagined to reflect contemporary fears of existential anxiety and societal alienation. The enduring legacy of the Noperabo in modern media speaks to their relevance in exploring themes of humanity disconnection and the fear of the unknown. The Noperabo, or faceless people of Edo, Japan, stand as symbols of identity, loss, alienation, and the unsettling forces of nature. Through traditional stories, art, and modern adaptations, these beings continue to remind us of the tension between the familiar and the supernatural. Their ability to evoke fear and discomfort reveals their deep connection to the psychological landscape of both the Edo period and the present day, making them an enduring part of Japan's rich cultural heritage. In the silent wilderness of ancient stone, a mystery sleeps. A rocky cliff in the middle of nowhere, weathered by wind, forgotten by time, suddenly becomes the focus of scientific awe. On its surface, embedded in reddish sandstone or layered shale, lies a trail of footprints, small clawed impressions spaced rhythmically as if an animal had strolled across the soft earth just moments ago. But that earth has long since turned to stone, and the stone is 200 million years old. Older than T-Rex, older than Stegosaurus, even older than the first true dinosaurs. These tracks belong to something from the Triassic period, a time when life on land was still experimenting. And yet the creature that made them, whatever it was, has left no bones, no skull, no tail, no trace of a body. Just footprints. And that is the most haunting part of the story. What kind of creature do you think left these footprints? And why did it leave no fossilized remains at all? No bones, no teeth, no skull? Could it be a species completely unknown to science, or perhaps a long-lost link in the chain of evolution? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Every theory, whether simple or bold, might be a missing piece of the greater puzzle humanity is still trying to solve. Footprints in rock are a type of fossil known as ichnofossils, not the remains of the creature itself, but the traces of its behavior. These fossilized steps show how a creature moved, how fast it walked, whether it dragged a tail or sprinted on toes. And yet, despite their value, they raise one frustrating question: who made them? In dozens of such discoveries across North America, Europe, Asia, even Antarctica, we see the footprints of something real, something that once was. But there's no skeleton nearby, no skull buried deeper, no scattered ribs, just the steps like a ghost passing through time. Scientists call these orphan tracks, and they're among the most puzzling finds in paleontology. What kind of creature could leave footprints in stone, yet leave behind no physical remains at all? This question has puzzled scientists for decades. Perhaps the animal lived in an environment where fossilization was unlikely: acidic soils, bacteria, rich swamps, or ground too soft to preserve a decaying body. Maybe its body was too light, or mostly made of cartilage instead of hard bone, leaving nothing behind to fossilize. A more intriguing theory suggests it might have been a completely unknown species with the footprints as the only evidence it ever existed. Even more unsettling, what if we have already found its bones elsewhere, but never realized they belong to the same creature that made these tracks? This disconnect between track and body raises a larger question. If we have footprints without bones, and bones without matching footprints, how many other ancient creatures have vanished from history without ever being recognized? The footprints were found in rock layers dating back 200 to 250 million years during the Triassic period, a chaotic chapter in Earth's history. It followed the planet's greatest mass extinction, which wiped out over 90% of all life. In this fragile moment of biological recovery, evolution began experimenting wildly. Strange new forms emerged from primitive reptiles and the ancestors of dinosaurs to giant amphibians and early mammal-like creatures. These fossilized tracks are some of the most vivid clues we have from that era. Some are tiny and bird-like, others show long strides and 3 sharp toes, resembling distant relatives of velociraptors. Some even show tail drags or webbed feet, hinting at a semi-aquatic lifestyle. Each track is a moment frozen in stone, when a creature walked across soft ancient ground, unaware that its steps would last forever, while its body would vanish without a trace. In archaeology and paleontology, it's often the absence of something that makes the loudest noise. And the strange absence of body fossils at sites where prehistoric footprints are found has puzzled scientists for decades. How could a creature leave behind a clear, purposeful trail of footprints and then vanish completely from the fossil record? At many locations, entire rock surfaces are covered with overlapping tracks, like a bustling moment in time, frozen forever. Dozens of individuals, possibly from different species, yet not a single bone has ever been found alongside them. Famous cases like the Ubrontes tracks in the Connecticut River Valley or the Chirotherium prints in Europe all share one thing: no one knows what creature made them. The footprints are too distinct, too unique. They don't match the anatomy of any known fossil skeleton. Could it be that some ancient creatures left behind only their footprints and then disappeared from history forever? Faced with the mystery of ownerless footprints, many paleontologists have proposed bold theories in search of answers. Some suggest these tracks were left by species that have never been fossilized anywhere else. Perhaps they existed only briefly or lived in environments where remains couldn't be preserved. In some regions, conditions were perfect for recording footprints, but far too harsh for preserving bones, creating a one-sided story of evolution. Others point to erosion, geological shifts, or ancient water currents that may have swept away all skeletal remains over hundreds of millions of years. Another perspective suggests these were juvenile or female individuals of known species with foot structures that didn't match adult fossils. More speculative theories go further. Perhaps these creatures were temporary evolutionary experiments, appearing and vanishing too quickly to fossilize. Some raise the idea of parallel evolution, where similar limb structures evolved independently, or even entire branches of reptilian life still unknown to science. And the truth is, we still don't know. It is precisely this uncertainty that makes these fossilized footprints so hauntingly fascinating. In the end, the tracks are a message, not one written in words, but in motion. They tell us that a creature once lived, walked, perhaps ran across soft ground in a world unimaginably old, and though its bones are lost to time, its steps remain, a silent echo of a life that left no other trace. As paleontologists keep discovering more such trails, one thing becomes clear: there may be entire chapters of Earth's history that exist only in footprints. No bones, no teeth, no skulls, just trails, just movement, just the ghost of life caught in stone. Some mysteries aren't just strange, they challenge the very foundations of what we believe about history, science, and the world we live in. One of them is this: a giant handprint pressed firmly into stone. Not carved, not etched, but pressed like a real hand once touched soft earth, and the earth remembered it. Imagine walking through a remote rocky hillside, and suddenly you stumble upon it. A human-shaped handprint, but 3 times the size of your own. Each finger longer than your forearm. The imprint deep, unmistakable, and set into solid stone, a layer of rock that geologists say is millions of years old. Right away, the questions begin. What would you think if you stumbled upon this handprint in real life? Do you believe it's a hoax, a lost piece of ancient history, or something even stranger? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear your theory. How could a hand leave such a deep imprint in solid rock, a material known for its hardness and resistance to deformation? Even in soft sediment, creating such a mark would require thousands of pounds of pressure. And yet here before us lies a giant handprint, clear deep, as if some unimaginable being had pressed its hand into the earth and then vanished. Many believe it's simply an elaborate hoax, a modern sculpture. But the most unsettling part is this: there's no evidence to prove it's fake. What makes this handprint so extraordinary and unsettling is the complete lack of evidence that it's a hoax. There are no chisel marks, no carving grooves, and no signs of cutting or abrasion typically left by tools. The edges of the print appear naturally weathered over time, not sharp or freshly made. Its depth is consistent with a powerful downward force applied while the surface was still soft, not with sculpting. Some geologists have even confirmed that the rock was once soft clay or mud dating back tens of millions of years. If that's true, then a chilling question emerges: Who or what left this handprint so far back in time? In an age where every shocking photo can be a product of Photoshop and every so-called mystery can be debunked with a few clicks, the fact that a giant handprint has endured for years without being fully disproven is truly rare. Multiple photos, videos, and on-site investigations confirm its shape, size, depth, and exact location as undeniably real. Even some skeptical researchers have had to admit there are no signs of a hoax, no cut marks, no tool traces, no evidence of fabrication. And yet the paradox remains: modern science still has no explanation for how such a handprint could exist in a rock layer estimated to be millions of years old. It fits neither geological models nor the established timeline of human evolution. And that's exactly why it falls into a danger zone, a place where science often chooses silence over confrontation. This is something beyond explanation. An uncomfortable truth in the world of science is this: when something doesn't fit the current framework of knowledge, it's more likely to be ignored than seriously investigated. When a phenomenon contradicts established models, when it can't be explained by existing theories, it's not seen as an opportunity for discovery, but rather as an inconvenient anomaly to brush aside. Because if we were to accept the giant handprint as real, we'd be forced to confront terrifying possibilities that giant human-like beings once walked the Earth, that our entire timeline of human evolution may be wrong, that an advanced intelligence could have existed long before recorded history, or even that beings beyond human understanding might have intervened. These hypotheses are too vast, too dangerous to explore, and so the mysterious imprint gets labeled a fringe artifact, a curiosity, something to glance at and forget. But it remains silent, defiant, waiting. It does not vanish. It does not let itself be erased. The most common argument from skeptics is that this might simply be a case of natural erosion. According to them, rocks can sometimes weather in ways that coincidentally produce familiar shapes, faces, footprints, even hands. This phenomenon is known as pareidolia, where the human brain tends to see patterns in random objects. But this handprint is not a vague blur on stone. It has the precise anatomical structure of a real human hand: 5 distinct fingers, proportionate joints, natural curvature, a palm that sinks deeper in the center, just like when a real hand presses into wet clay, and a correctly angled thumb. No recorded erosion process has ever produced symmetry, structure, and depth resembling this print. No known geological force can replicate the motion and pressure pattern of a living hand. And so we return to the uncomfortable truth. There's no proof that it's fake, but no way to explain how it could be real. Some have suggested that perhaps the rock layer isn't as ancient as we think, that the dating might be inaccurate. But even under the most generous assumptions, the rock still dates to a time millions of years before modern humans existed. Even if the margin of error were 10 times larger, the timeline still wouldn't align with human evolution. That leaves only 2 possibilities. Either geology is wrong, or something else made that handprint. This giant handprint is more than just an impression in stone. It's a direct challenge to the limits of our understanding. Throughout history, countless artifacts have been dismissed, hidden, or lost simply because they didn't fit the accepted narrative of the past. Could this handprint be one of them? Many have linked it to ancient legends, like the Nephilim of the Bible giants said to have once walked the earth, or Sumerian and Vedic texts that speak of ancient gods descending from the skies. Some propose even bolder theories: intervention by extraterrestrial civilizations. We may not yet know which, if any, of these are true, but one thing is certain: this is a massive handprint pressed deep into stone, and to this day, no geologist, historian, or skeptic has provided a satisfactory explanation. It remains as if a door has been left slightly open, leading to a chapter of history we were never meant to see. So maybe the question isn't, is this real? Maybe the question is, why are we so quick to say it can't be real? Do you believe that somewhere in this world there exists a stone gate that opens only once a year without anyone touching it? No gears, no electricity, no human intervention, only nature and a sacred moment set in motion, perhaps thousands of years ago. Each year at that exact moment, the massive stone gate begins to move smoothly, silently, revealing what looks like a passageway to something far beyond our imagination. Then just as quietly, it closes again, as if nothing ever happened. This isn't folklore. It's a phenomenon that has been witnessed, recorded, and still remains unexplained. When modern science fails and logic has no more ground to stand on, we are left with one haunting question: who or what created a gate that opens precisely once a year, as if following a schedule set by an intelligence beyond our own? What do you think about this strange phenomenon? Could it be the remnants of an ancient civilization with astronomical knowledge far beyond ours, a rare natural occurrence that science has yet to fully understand? Or is it a real gateway to another world? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Do you believe this gate was created by humans, or is it something beyond human imagination? If you have a theory, no matter how wild or scientific, don't hesitate to share it, because someone out there might just be thinking the same thing. Imagine a massive stone, weighing several tons, lying motionless in a desolate landscape for 364 days a year. No one approaches it, no sound is heard, and there's not a single sign that anything will change. Yet on one fateful day, often during the summer solstice, the vernal equinox, or the first full moon after the equinox, the stone suddenly splits open, revealing a pitch-black hollow, like a gateway to another world. There are no gears, no circuits, and no human touch involved. It opens by itself in total silence, then gently closes again after a short while, as if nothing had ever happened. The strangest part: this phenomenon happens exactly on time, every single year, never missing even by an hour. The precision is so uncanny that even modern timekeeping devices would struggle to match it. And to this day, no one has been able to explain why or how a stone gate could know the exact moment to open on its own. The timing of this stone's opening is no coincidence. It often aligns perfectly with classical astronomical events such as summer solstice, June 21st, when the sun reaches its highest point in the sky. Winter solstice, December 23rd, the longest night of the year. Equinoxes, spring and autumn, when day and night are of equal length. The first full moon after the spring equinox, corresponding with ancient festivals like Ostara Passover or even Easter. This perfect synchronization leads many to believe that the stone is not simply a natural formation, but possibly a construct of an ancient civilization with astronomical knowledge far beyond what we typically imagine for prehistoric cultures. What's even more remarkable is that this phenomenon occurs consistently every single year without interruption. Whether it rains or shines, whether there are minor earthquakes or not, the stone gate opens on time, as if following some kind of sacred calendar that cannot be broken. Some witnesses describe it like this: in the early morning, the stone begins to tremble slightly, then parts at a barely visible seam. Within minutes, it reveals a narrow, pitch-black passage descending deep into the earth. But if anyone hesitates or arrives late within just 1 hour, the gate seals itself again, completely silent, seamless, and still, as if it's saying, those who arrive on time may enter, those who are late Wait until next year. What's also curious is that most of these stone gates are not located in populated or well-traveled places, but instead in remote regions on high plateaus, deep forests, or even deserts areas that are virtually cut off from modern civilization. Some are embedded in sheer cliff faces, their entrances shrouded in fog or thick jungle. Others lie atop mountains, reachable only after trekking dozens of kilometers through harsh terrain. This begs the question, if these gates were meant as portals or sacred entrances, then for whom and who has known the precise time for their opening since ancient times? Could it be that they were not meant for humans at all, or only for those patient enough and perhaps chosen? Despite attracting the attention of archaeologists, engineers, and geologists from around the world, the phenomenon of the stone gate that opens by itself remains a complete mystery with no definitive explanation. Field surveys, measurements, and structural analyses all point to the same conclusion: there is no visible operating mechanism. The stone has no gears, no hinges, no mechanical cuts or sliding tracks, no evidence whatsoever that any form of technology or human intervention was involved. Some geologists have proposed that the phenomenon might be caused by thermal expansion, in which the rock cracks or shifts due to sudden temperature changes. But this theory was quickly dismissed, as the timing of the opening does not coincide with significant temperature fluctuations, and such precise synchronization down to the hour over centuries is virtually impossible. Moreover, it fails to explain how the stone closes again so smoothly and seamlessly afterward. Other theories involving geomagnetic forces or geobiological energy fields have also been suggested, but to this day, there is no verified physical evidence to support any of them. This stone gate continues to defy the limits of our current understanding. Given all these mysteries, it's no surprise that such sites are steeped in local legend. Some refer to them as gates of the gods, believed to allow the souls of the dead to pass through on sacred days. Others say they are portals to other dimensions where anyone brave enough to step inside will never return, but instead arrive at a better place. One legend from South America tells of a chosen warrior who every year on the summer solstice would step through the stone gate to retrieve the sacred flame. If he did not return before the gate closed, his soul would be trapped forever in the eternal darkness. Such stories reinforce the idea that this precisely timed event is more than just a physical anomaly. It is a spiritual ritual steeped in belief, reverence, and even fear. To this day, there is no fully convincing scientific explanation for the phenomenon. And perhaps that is what makes it so fascinating, captivating, and even terrifying. It raises a haunting question. If a stone gate can open by itself, with perfect timing once a year, who or what created it? Was it the work of an ancient civilization, far older and wiser than we assume? Or is it a rare natural event that modern science has yet to comprehend? Or perhaps it's a message, an invitation from somewhere beyond, waiting for the right person to step through. Hidden in the heart of Transylvania, not far from the medieval city of Cluj-Napoca, lies a forest that has baffled scientists, terrified visitors, and stirred countless supernatural theories for decades. Its name, Hoia Baciu Forest, a place many call the Bermuda Triangle of Romania. With just over 250 hectares of twisted trees, unexplained phenomena, and chilling folklore, Hoia Baciu is not your average woodland. It's a hotspot of the unknown, where even modern technology seems to break down. GPS systems spin out of control. Compasses lose their bearings. Phones die mysteriously. Cameras capture images no one remembers taking. But the strangest and most chilling of all may be the perfectly barren circle at its core, the mysterious Hoia Rotunda. What do you think is really happening inside the mysterious circle, known as Hoia Rotunda? Share your thoughts or theories in the comments below. We'd love to hear your ideas, whether they're scientific, spiritual, or completely out of this world. At first glance, Hoia Baciu might seem like any other dense forest in Eastern Europe. But walk just a little further in, and the atmosphere begins to shift. The forest exudes an eerie stillness, one that experienced hikers often describe as unnaturally quiet. Birds fall silent, winds whisper, and then disappear. People report feelings of being watched, of sudden waves of unease or confusion. Some have even described being physically pushed or touched by unseen forces. It's this ever-present sense of dread that has made the forest the focus of paranormal investigations from all over the world. Ghost hunters, scientists, and thrill-seekers alike have come to Hoia Baciu hoping to find answers, or at least survive, a night among its shadows. One of the most disturbing aspects of Hoia Baciu is how it seems to interfere with electronic equipment. GPS devices become unreliable, sometimes showing the user moving in circles or even teleporting several meters on the map. Cameras malfunction or drain battery rapidly. Drones crash for no apparent reason. Even professional-grade scientific tools have failed here, as if the forest itself rejects observation. It's not uncommon for visitors to return with hundreds of blurry or overexposed photos, or sometimes with strange figures appearing in the background that weren't visible at the time. Some have reported hearing static or whispering sounds on their voice recordings even when no one else was present. But Hoia Baciu's reputation isn't built on faulty electronics alone. For decades, the forest has been a magnet for paranormal claims. Locals speak of ghost sightings, sudden fogs, and flickering lights with no source. One of the most common reports involves the laughter of children, eerie, distant giggling that echoes through the trees even when there's no one around. Others have reported seeing full-bodied apparitions, strange balls of light floating among the trunks, or silhouettes watching silently from the undergrowth. In many cases, visitors claim to experience sudden nausea, headaches, anxiety, or loss of time, all of which vanish once they leave the forest. These accounts are so consistent that even skeptics have taken notice. It's no wonder many locals refuse to enter Hoia Baciu at all. While tales of ghosts and strange feelings have surrounded Hoia Baciu for generations, it wasn't until the 1960s that the forest truly gained international attention thanks to a startling UFO encounter. In 1968, a military technician named Emil Barnea was spending the day near the forest when he photographed a disc-shaped object flying silently above the trees. The photo became one of Europe's most famous UFO images. It was studied and debated for years, and to this day, no one has offered a definitive explanation. Since then, Hoia Baciu has been the site of dozens of other UFO sightings, often involving hovering lights, sudden radio interference, or glowing orbs darting between the trees. Yet among all the legends and anomalies in Hoia Baciu, none is more perplexing or more chilling than the central clearing known as Hoia Rotunda. This perfectly circular patch of land sits deep within the forest. No trees grow there, no shrubs, no wildflowers, no mushrooms, nothing. Just a flat, lifeless patch of dirt, measuring roughly 200 meters across, surrounded on all sides by dense, thriving vegetation. From above, it looks like someone carved a circle into the forest with a giant scalpel. Scientists have tested the soil numerous times. The results? There's nothing wrong with it. The soil composition is nearly identical to that of the surrounding forest, and there are no known toxins or radiation levels that would explain the total absence of plant life. And yet nothing grows there. Locals have a wide range of superstitions about the clearing. Some believe it's a portal where spirits cross between dimensions. Others claim it was once the site of a mass disappearance or a ritual conducted long ago. Many visitors who step into the circle report sudden dizziness, headaches, or emotional distress, as if the clearing itself is rejecting them. Even animals behave strangely near the Hoia Rotunda. Dogs refuse to enter it. Birds avoid flying directly over it. And when electronic devices are brought into the circle, their malfunctions become more extreme. Clocks stop ticking. Batteries drain. In seconds, screens go black. Some even claim that time itself feels different inside the circle, slower, heavier, disconnected from the outside world. People have reported entering the clearing and losing track of hours, emerging disoriented and unable to explain what just happened. It's not uncommon for photographs taken inside the circle to come out blank, overexposed, or showing strange artifacts. Blotches of light figures standing in the mist, or glowing outlines of people that weren't actually there. Despite the danger, or perhaps because of it, Hoia Rotunda has become a center of fascination for both scientists and paranormal enthusiasts alike. It is in many ways the heart of Hoia Baciu's mystery, a place where reality seems thin and something else bleeds through. Beyond the clearing, the rest of the forest continues to defy expectations. Many of the trees in Hoia Baciu grow in twisted, unnatural shapes, corkscrew trunks, sharp right-angle bends, or spirals that make no sense biologically. These formations aren't typical mutations or the result of wind. In fact, no environmental factor fully explains them. Some researchers have suggested that electromagnetic anomalies might be warping the trees over time. Others believe it could be psychological, that the forest simply appears more twisted the longer you spend inside. But again, no one really knows. It's just another part of the puzzle. Over the years, Hoia Baciu has been the subject of documentaries, paranormal investigations, and even military interest. Geologists, psychologists, physicists all have come looking for answers, and none have left with certainty. Could it be a magnetic anomaly, a hidden underground structure, a rare natural energy field? Or are the stories of Hoia Baciu just a combination of folklore, psychology, and coincidence? That's the problem. There are too many stories, too many witnesses, and too many unexplainable events to brush it all aside. In an age when satellites can map every inch of the planet and scientists can scan molecules with precision, Hoia Baciu remains a blank spot on the map of understanding. Its twisting trees, silent air, malfunctioning electronics, and most haunting of all, its lifeless central clearing, Hoia Rotunda, continue to resist all rational explanation. Some call it cursed. Others believe it's a sacred site. But nearly everyone who visits agrees this is not just a forest. This is a doorway to something else. And until science catches up with what Hoia Baciu is trying to tell us, it will remain one of the most haunted, perplexing, and unforgettable places on Earth. Crescent Lake, located in a remote area of China, is one of the most mysterious lakes in the world, where bodies seem to never decay even after being submerged in the water for years. This phenomenon has created a significant scientific mystery, attracting the attention of researchers, folklore detectives, and exploration enthusiasts. Among the many strange factors, the water in the lake plays a crucial role, causing fundamental changes in how bodies maintain their integrity. This is a phenomenon that has not been fully explained, but studying it could lead to astonishing discoveries in the scientific world. What do you think about this strange phenomenon? Could it be a scientific coincidence or an unsolved mystery? Could the water in Crescent Lake contain special elements that help preserve bodies for years without decaying? Or is there another reason behind this phenomenon? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. The bodies floating in Crescent Lake or retrieved from the bottom of the lake are unlike the decomposed bodies found under normal conditions. They remain in almost perfect condition, showing no signs of natural decomposition. The skin is not rotting, there is no foul smell, and even details like hairnails or clothing remain intact as if the bodies were naturally embalmed. Scientists have noted that even after months or even years underwater, these bodies retain their original form, which is unusual for bodies in other waterlogged environments. This contradicts our usual understanding of decomposition in freshwater environments. Bodies in regular lakes decompose quickly under the influence of bacteria and other natural elements. However, Crescent Lake creates a unique environment where the decomposition process is delayed or even completely halted, raising an unanswered question about why these bodies are preserved so unusually well. One of the most important factors explaining the strange phenomenon in Crescent Lake is the special properties of the water in the lake. After conducting experiments, researchers discovered that the water in Crescent Lake has an unusual pH level and mineral content. This creates an environment that is not only different, but also almost anaerobic, meaning there is no free oxygen in certain areas of the lake, preventing decay-causing bacteria which require oxygen to thrive from surviving and functioning as usual. Another crucial element is that the water in the lake contains natural antimicrobial minerals. These minerals can block the growth of decay-causing bacteria, helping the bodies remain intact for long periods. This is similar to a biological embalming process where bodies are preserved in a special environment that naturally slows down decomposition. The properties of the water in Crescent Lake not only help preserve the bodies, but also slow down all biochemical processes in the bodies, thus keeping them nearly unchanged for decades. Chemical studies of the water in the lake have shown that the deeper layers of water in the lake have an extremely low oxygen level, to the point where it is almost impossible for any living organisms to exist there. This not only helps prevent the decomposition of the bodies, but also creates a fully anaerobic environment akin to a natural tomb where all bacteria and molds are unable to survive. As a result, the bodies are not only isolated from the outside world, but also protected in a living space free from any biological decomposition processes. Another discovery reveals that the bodies found in the lake often contain natural preservatives within the water, which helps stop the process of cellular decay. These factors may be the source of this strange phenomenon, where the water in Crescent Lake provides an indispensable environment for naturally preserving the bodies without the need for any artificial intervention. The geography of Crescent Lake also plays a significant role in creating ideal conditions for body preservation. The lake has an immense depth and a very complex lakebed structure, making some areas of it difficult to access. The inability to reach the deeper parts of the lake makes it extremely challenging to conduct comprehensive studies of the water environment. Professional divers or modern diving equipment also cannot easily access these deep areas, making sampling and research far more difficult. The deep bottom areas in Crescent Lake also create an isolated space where bodies can lie still in an environment with little or no change from external factors. This further supports the hypothesis that the anaerobic conditions at the bottom of this lake are the primary factor that helps preserve the bodies for an extended period without decomposition. Crescent Lake is not only famous for its undying bodies, but also a place linked to numerous mysterious disappearances. Over the decades, many people have vanished mysteriously around the lake, and some of them have been found floating on the surface of the lake after many years. What is strange is that these bodies also show no signs of decomposition similar to the bodies previously retrieved. This becomes even more mysterious when the missing bodies that were gone for a long time return with perfect, unchanged forms, leading many to believe that there is some supernatural force or spirit protecting this lake. Around Crescent Lake, locals have many strange legends about souls trapped in the lake. They believe that this lake is not only a place to preserve undying bodies, but also a forbidden place where anyone who dares to intrude will face consequences. There are stories about hearing voices crying, sounds from the depths of the lake at night, making the area around the lake even more mysterious and full of things that cannot be explained. All these factors contribute to one of the most enigmatic and hard-to-explain phenomena in the scientific world. Crescent Lake remains an unresolved mystery, and its existence continues to drive us to delve deeper into things that have never been known before in the natural world. The deep-water corpses of Crescent Lake is a bizarre event that not only captivates scientists, but also astonishes those who enjoy mysteries. Researching the properties of the water in the lake could open up new knowledge about how natural conditions might help preserve life for long periods. Without a clear explanation, Crescent Lake will always remain an endless mystery, a symbol of the strange and inexplicable.